Oh,
Well, there you go.
There you go. I just heard it say that the recording has started.
He has such a nice voice.
Yeah.
That's right.
Rendezvous! Ho, ho! Uh-oh. Ron,
I can
turn
just
the
barely
lights on.
see you, Ron. We need to all get together and buy Ron a light bulb.
Will they recommend a ring light or something?
Ron, can you hear us? He's staring intently.
He is. Ron, you around? Can you hear us, Ron?
Ron?
We can't hear you.
Oh, your microphone's off now.
Oh, yeah, I think even when your microphone's on, we still can't hear you. Mark B, we can't hear you. Maybe you can turn your microphone on and see
Mark
if
is
we
muted.
can hear you. Yep.
Yeah, but I'll have to join in a bit. I just stepped in a huge pile of dog pee.
Oh, well.
Oh, cool.
That's,
So I'll be with you in a bit.
just give us a play-by-play.
No.
It's a huge pile of dog pee.
That's right.
Yeah.
Cool. What's playing on the background, John Mark?
Looks like
Bomb threat?
Bomb threat, Rick Adams.
Yeah.
Cool. Yay.
So did everybody get a chance to look at the newsletter?
I did.
Yes,
You're
it was
getting
very good.
You're getting a lot of kudos. You've created a real problem, though, I think.
It's going to be a tough act to follow.
Yeah, I think, what was it, 62 pages or something? I think
It was 67, but who's counting?
that's right. So I think you're going to have a challenge come next quarter. People are going to be like, what a letdown.
Right.
It's only 30 pages long.
Speaking of letdown, Michael Furman, how you doing?
Hey, how you guys doing? What did I let you down on?
Well, you didn't
You
join
let
on
me down
time.
on something. What was that?
Too
Jim?
much light in your setup. You didn't join at 6 o'clock. Totally let down.
I couldn't find the link. I had to dig around.
I was busy doing tech support for Nick Marentes, and that's a long haul.
Ron, can you hear us? You still look like you're muted, but can you hear us? Wave if you can hear us, Ron.
I think it's just a pre-recorded version of Ron.
Well, the real Ron DeVoe, please stand up.
Now, is my video coming through? I had to download a whole new Blue Jeans app because apparently I hadn't updated in a couple of years.
Yeah, you're coming through.
You're coming through fine.
The Glenside folks have been pretty much okay with this. I was thinking about possibly streaming this as long as nobody objects to that. Ron,
You're saying you
where'd
have
you
to keep
go?
the swearing down?
My sister wants me to be more festive.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I'll go ahead and I'm going to start the local recording right now. So I'm recording. Did you start your cloud recording, Jim?
I did.
Okay. So Jim is recording. I will go ahead and start streaming too. I am not advertising the Blue Jeans link in the stream because I don't want kind of like the trolls and bombers to jump in, but those who know will figure out how to get here, I think. All right, so
I noticed that they sent an email to the Glenside email address saying they were going to start forcing like a password or whatnot for one time.
Oh, like a meeting password?
That's right. This is a recurring meeting, and so it doesn't appear to have a password yet. But
okay.
But I know on the one of the recent conventions that was held online, the early part of December, they were on Zoom and they got Zoom bombed about 2 or 3 hours into it. It was a mess.
Happened to us too.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, during Coco Talk Live.
Oh, when was that?
In the early days of the pandemic when people were just starting to.
Yeah, that's right.
You know,
that's
way
when we added
back,
the password.
way
I think
back.
Zoom has put in some protections.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they said they said that I was just a person watching the feed, but they said they had turned on the whatever it is, the waiting room or whatnot. But evidently these folks figured out a way. I think they got put in the waiting room and they used names that were somewhat innocuous, and so then they got admitted in there, and then all of them waited, and then they just all started in at once. So
Okay. As far as I can tell, we are live on YouTube, so we're live streaming.
Yay.
You want to formally announce where we are and what we're doing, Mr. President?
Yes, El Presidente here. Glenside is having its first annual yearly virtual open house. Yes, there you go. And we are live. For those people who want to join, please look up our Blue Jeans link and join us. We're hanging out until we all decide to quit chatting, or December 21st comes into view, whichever comes first.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, Richard.
Thank you. I don't know. See, your picture is, that I'm getting from you on the Windows, is split into 3 different quadrants, and it's all ripped up. But I'm looking at you on Linux, and it's perfect. But the trouble is, my Linux box doesn't transfer sound. So.
Oh, bummer.
How you been, Richard?
Hey, if I've been any better, it'd be against the law.
Hey, Merry almost Christmas to you.
Thank you.
Ron
Hey,
Delvaux,
you're
can you
doing
hear us now?
outstanding on that newsletter,
Yeah.
buddy.
Hey, welcome back, Ron.
I'm hearing.
Awesome.
Merry almost Christmas.
Yep. Jingle bells, everybody.
Yeah.
I got a picture of Richard Crislip and a box with a white circle in it, both with your name.
Is that right?
You gotta click on the little 4 squares to go into the gallery view if you want to see everybody.
Yeah,
I just did that.
I got gallery view, but
You
I
got
got
gallery view?
2 of him.
That's
Yes,
because
Two of
I'm
whom?
Of Richard,
Oh,
a
cute.
blue box with his RC in it.
Yeah, I think Richard's watching it on one box and he's actually speaking on the other because of.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
I think.
The Linux box does not do sound because it's being done through RDP off Windows.
Got
It
it.
seems highly suspect to me. Are we sure he's not a hacker?
I don't know.
I couldn't program my way off a wet paper bag, buddy.
So how's everybody
the
been?
Shogo yesterday there, Stevie.
There was none of that crappy OS 9 talk, so it went really well.
We'll have to fix that next week.
So how do you put your name in there?
We missed you. We missed you, Curtis. We had Lay Curtis Boyle doing
Yes, we had your French cousin, Lay Curtis
French
Boyle,
cousin.
was filling in
That's
for
right.
Yeah, I heard somebody was impersonating me and that they did an awesome job and the best ever. It was Bigly, and I'll agree with that, even though I'll probably never watch it.
Yeah. Ron, what were you asking? You said, how do you put your name in somewhere?
Yeah, how do you put your name? Everybody's got their name.
Your name is under your
name's
name.
there.
Oh, it is? Because I don't see it
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, we see
It's
it
not-
for you.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not on when your little spot on the far right corner doesn't have your name on it, but
Yeah.
we
Oh,
see
okay.
your name on everybody else. So
Alrighty.
Rob Inman
So you're
says his
good.
name was Lay Curtis Boyle, and he's the best.
that's right. Cool. Chris has a very out of focus something or other. I don't even know what it is.
I must be missing people because I'm not even seeing Chris.
Yep, Chris.
Yep.
I put in the gallery view, and I got Chris. But I can just—it's like
Blue Jeans is a little
look it
bit
up at the
different than what I'm
ceiling.
used to.
Also, excellent job in the newsletter, Steve. I've been seeing a lot of praise over that and the list
Yeah,
and
thanks.
elsewhere.
It was, number one, I'm still getting over the wounds from where Jim was cracking the whip on me on the last one, but I learned some valuable skills, and that's that if you just really drive people like rented mules, they tend to deliver. So
Oh, I was going to say that if you quit listening to Jim Brain, life's just that much easier.
Hey.
So I applied some of those people skills to the staff, and there was no meals, there were no potty breaks. We had to meet a deadline, and through human ingenuity and proper motivation, we got it done.
Yeah, sorry I didn't get a chance to help there, but I've been going massive overtime trying to get EOU ready too. So.
That was good. You did help because we basically pilfered all your news items.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
So you'd already done the pre-labor for us.
Yeah, because I don't know if anybody on the call here's on the beta testing team here, but we just finally sent out the release candidate 1 beta. Though there's a couple known minor bugs right now, and I think I got that out at 5 a.m. this morning.
Wow.
Oh, really? I should try that.
Now we can see Chris.
I don't see Chris.
I'm not going away.
Chris, are you on an open mic?
Chris?
That's
I have to set up because it's using the wrong. It's using my USB microphone. I mean my USB microscope for my video. So I'm changing it, and hopefully you can hear me.
We can hear you. Just that it's pulling and echoing back.
Oh
Yeah,
we are.
Mute your. How do I set the?
Get headphones.
I don't have headphones.
Choose some.
Hello. Echo.
It's like Echo Canyon.
Coco. Okay, is he muted?
Yep. Yeah, I think you muted. It's you.
So yeah, I said, is that better when I had it on mute?
Yes.
It is.
Oh, thanks, Jim.
Sorry.
We'll have to get your headphones up.
Yeah,
He's using his Microsoft camera. That means he's not this big.
Yeah.
Whoa.
You're gonna have to stay
microphone
muted.
is on my Coco.
Yep. Sorry, Chris. It's the delay is like a couple seconds, so it kind of ruins everything said after.
Can you
what
do an
said.
executive mute if you had to, Mr. President?
I don't know. Let me see what I can do here. I'm not real familiar with the controls, but hold on here. It does have people here, so let me see.
Is my audio
It looks-
causing a problem?
No, you're fine, Richard.
Cool.
Hey, has anybody else checked out the new Glenside website? Because Eric has done a hell of a job, man. You guys got to take a look at it.
Oh, it's looking good.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance. Sorry, not yet.
We're starting to look professional.
We are starting to look professional.
I wouldn't push it that far.
I haven't even read through the newsletter yet because you made it too darn big.
And
that's truer than you think, because Steve tried to send a version of it out for us to proof, and he couldn't send it through the new email addresses because it was so big. So Eric had to up the mailbox limit on the mailboxes. Growing pains.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think you just about got as many pages as the Trash Talkers one, didn't you? I think theirs was
I
around
don't know.
80 and yours was
I
around
haven't
70. Or...
I haven't seen theirs or the TR City one, but I did see the cover of it because somebody showed the clip from winning the award for the contest, and I was really impressed with how their newsletter looked because I want to probably glean some stuff from there.
Hey, welcome. Whoa, we got
Sloopy, I think you're
again.
Who is
Charles Allison.
Chuck.
There. Okay. Sorry, Charles. I had to mute you. You need to work on your microphone. We got
I think that was Sloopy. I think it was Sloopy.
No, that was Charles.
That was Chuck.
That was Charles.
That's Chuck. Hey, Chuck.
Yep.
Good to see you.
Hey, there we go.
Better?
Now I don't know. No, looks like it might be better.
Still echoing a bit, but not as bad.
Yeah, I turned down my local speaker, so I turned it down as low as I can go without being able to hear it. Sorry,
Do you have headphones or?
No, I'm partially deaf, so headphones don't go loud enough for me to understand. I mean, I have to literally, if it's low enough, I have to literally use my brain power to listen to it 100%, and then wouldn't be able to do anything because I'm too busy listening to it.
Oh, I have the headphones for you.
You need to look. You need to learn the sign language.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you?
Rick Hewlin came in nice and loud.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I don't know how to set the volume on this.
Oh.
Built-in
Okay,
audio.
Let me. Sorry, Chris. I had to mute you. You're still echoing kind of bad. Charles, welcome, Charles. Welcome, David. LCB, not sure who that is.
That is the Hispanic L. Curtis Boyle.
Oh, sorry. That's right. Sorry, Curtis. Didn't know the acronym. And Brian G. Oh, that's Brian Goer. Sorry. I think I said hi to everybody. Thanks for joining. We're just chit-chatting. So.
How about a sound check? Can you hear me?
We can hear you fine.
Roger that.
Okay.
Over.
Beauty. I only had to take about 80% off of the volume. Thank you.
Okay. Good job. By the way, Rick, thank you for a series of contributions to the newsletter. And I'm not sure if Alan Murphy is still here. He was here before. Yeah, he is. Yeah. I'm not seeing the whole panel here, so this is definitely different than Zoom. So I'm seeing some people and not all people. So I have the sidebar chat open too, or the panel, the view attendee list open. But thanks guys for your contributions to the newsletter, because those really brought content to the past 2 or 3 issues, and the content is what makes it. That's
what we're going for.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate that.
One comment. The schematic that I was banging on for about half of the article didn't make it. So.
Well, then your entire article is worthless. Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, people are going to go, "What the hell are you talking about?" Well, it's.
Well, they already did that, Rick. They did that when you started the article. Let me talk about joysticks and electronics.
Right.
All right, for that, if you think that's bad, try. I was listening to David Ladd talk about the latest video from AC's 8-bit zone. It's like, in the ROM on the Coco, there's a waveform in there, and apparently it's causing the output volume to be low, and then when you play back the tapes, you got to do it, and they're trying to explain all this stuff to me. Yeah, that's called slew, and this and that and the other. And I'm like, wow, this is really technical. But apparently that problem has potentially been in the Coco ROM from the beginning, from what they're discovering now. So.
Well, it's funny. I had the ZX81, the ZX81, the $69 kit computer. It did 2400 baud, and the Coco did 1600 baud through the cassette. So I kind of knew the Coco had something wrong, but it took all these years to find out what that was.
Wasn't the operator, right?
Apparently it was the slew rate.
The slew rate.
The sloopy rate.
Right.
It was a sloopy rate.
That was actually a really good YouTube video.
Got some.
Good
say
and
something
technical.
again, sir. It was very technical.
I have a question for you guys.
If only we could figure out how to slew the echo in this call. Yeah, sorry,
That's
Brian,
right.
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. How many of you guys use the Raspberry Pi for any Coco emulation?
Yeah,
I do.
2, 3, 4, about 4 of you, 5 of you?
Yeah.
Not yet, but I just got a 4, so I'm going to play with that.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you how it works for just general computing and programming, what have you.
The 4 is great.
Yeah.
I've used the Raspberry Pi 3 for a couple of years, and it's pretty good.
I have one of these. I have a 3B and a 4, and I'm running the Coco Pi image on both, and they both work well.
Otherwise, all I've got for...
Right here. It's my second computer on my desk.
Hey, there you go.
Nice. They just came up with a Pi 400 that's like built into a little keyboard and everything, so it looks like a little mini like Commodore 128. So it's got a keyboard. You get a keyboard, a mouse, the Pi, RAM, all kinds of stuff, and it's like $100. All you need is plug in a screen to it. So it's a pretty nice little system.
The only downside is you can't put a hat on it.
And it's also
Can't put a
faster
hat on
than
it?
Pi 4.
Keyboard, it's all close. You can't put the hat
Oh my God, this echo is
PPIO
killing me.
covered.
Okay, that's all good to know. Thanks.
Yeah, I set up a website for the image. The website is coco-pi.com, and you can download an image that you can burn to an SD card that's pre-configured with all the emulators. It's menu driven. It's pretty user friendly to set up and use. It'll work on a Pi 3 or higher.
I put a link to the Pi 400 in the chat if you're interested.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the machine.
I think I've seen it. Is there a preference or better 32 gig instead of 64, or does it matter?
If you want the Cocoa Pi image, the bigger the better. At least 32 gigs, because there's a ton of stuff on there. Even though the Cocoa itself is not a big system, there's a ton of images and virtual hard drives, and it's got a copy of the entire Ultimate SDC image. There's just so much stuff on that image. There's more software than you could ever run.
Well, that's the SD image size, but now with the Pi 4, there's 3 different sizes of RAM too. So
the RAM size.
The RAM. Well, I was thinking storage, 32 gig or 64, but yeah, 4 and 8 meg RAM.
Gigs. It's actually.
Gigs.
Oh, is it gigs? Yeah.
Gigs. Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I can't tell you, Brian. I've got an 8 gig unit and a 4 gig unit coming. My son wanted a 4 gig unit. I decided I'd buy an 8 because it was a deal, buy one, get one for a little bit cheaper. But I don't know how much is the minimum required to run Cocoa Pi. I don't know.
It'll run on 4.
It will.
Run on 4 gigs, yeah.
It will run on 2?
I don't know. The stock Pi 3 is the minimum base image. So probably 4 is fine. I don't know about 2.
Okay. So probably be safe, get at least the 4, and 8's probably gravy, but it probably isn't necessary.
Right.
So.
Oh. Just so long as I don't get lost in trying to where I can store stuff and can't find the file I want.
Right.
I do that now.
I would say, well, if you're going to do Cocoa Pi, I would absolutely put Ron Klein on speed dial, because he totally enjoys talking about it and helping people with it. Mm-hmm. And he'd be more than happy to bring somebody else up onto the image. I know he really enjoys sharing.
We've actually recorded that. Ron and I recorded a step-by-step video on how to burn the image, how to do it and update it, all that kind of stuff. So on the website of coco-pi.com is a lot of great resources. You got the images to download and links to videos and how to set it up and configure it. And it's all menu driven, so it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I will mention too, Ron's one of our testers for ease of use, so he's been testing beta 6 on it too, as we've been releasing release candidates and betas. So that should be out pretty quick after the official release.
Okay, Brian Joyce is saying that you can run it in 2 gigabytes of RAM on the Cocoa Pi.
Well, there you go.
In Australia.
Sloopy he's having a few microphone issues, but he was in the chat and he indicates that a faster card is extremely useful. So getting
like the class, there's different classes on those SD cards.
Class 10 or class 14 or whatever. So make sure you don't get one that's too slow.
Right, that's your hard drive. So
yeah, that is
make
your
it
hard
fast.
Drive. Make it so,
right.
Number 1.
Make it big, make it fast.
That's right.
Can you use a USB thumb drive? Anybody you can use a USB thumb drive on those as well? Cool.
The Pi 4 will let you boot to external storage.
Okay.
Boot to and from external storage.
Huh.
All kinds of cool things to try out, Brian.
Yeah, like you could plug in an actual hard drive into it, like a USB hard drive. The USB ports are 3.0. It's got gigabit Ethernet on there. It's got Wi-Fi. There's a lot of stuff in that Pi 4, man. A lot of tech.
Except for a way to hook up your HDMI monitor unless you thought to buy the proper cable, which I didn't.
I always buy the kits. So when I buy the kit, it's got the charger with the on-off switch and the cables and all that kind of. I buy the Cana kits usually. So it's like a micro.
Oh, the micro
HDMI.
C.
Yeah. It's the actual USB port itself. The USB output on it is a micro USB.
It's not the mini, it's the micro, right?
I'm saying USB, I mean HDMI. It's like a mini or micro HDMI out on it.
Yep. Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, your best bet is if you just go to eBay or Amazon, look for a kit. Look for like a Cano kit, and you can get a Cano kit with the case and the power supply and the fans
Yeah,
and the heat
Candy kits
sinks
are
and
nice.
all that kind of stuff. I got a Cano kit, and you're good to go. Everything you need in one box.
Yeah, I agree.
CANO.
There's a couple places. You should be able to just look for Raspberry Pi kit. This one I got from a company called Vilros, Vilros. They have a website that does kits as well. You can get a 4 with the right connectors and a little fan and a clear case, and I don't even know what else.
Yeah.
I see Charles joined back with us here, and he's actually got headphones on here, so I don't know if you can hear us properly.
But they're not working.
Oh, bummer, because we can hear
you
you fine.
Gotta love on-the-fly technology, you know.
I know. We need to sell like a Coco Zoom Blue Jeans kit, right? A microphone,
microphone and headset, yeah.
Right. Noise canceling, echo compensation, flux capacitor device, and
that's right.
I had to quick download the deb because my Unix box Chromium wouldn't run Blue Jeans in a browser. It just kept complaining at me. So
That's
10-minute fix.
That's the problem with having 8 or 9 of these different ones. So, and the company I'm working for, they use Microsoft Teams as their internal system, but then when you're working with vendors, right, they have a whole hodgepodge of things. So you've got WebEx, you've got Zoom, you've got Blue Jeans, you've got, I think LogMeIn has something or other. And inevitably, since you don't use those all day, every day, as soon as you go to use them, you're thinking, okay, well, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I got a 3 o'clock meeting. You go click on the link and it's like, you need to upgrade or whatever. And you're like, I don't have time for this. Can't you just log me into the chat or the video and I'll work on upgrade later? But no.
Exactly.
Hey, Richard,
Hello.
I think you might knock something over if you're not careful there.
Well, let's see. Knock this over.
I thought.
Adventures in basements.
It just hit everything on the way down. Okay, I'm going to turn these first 2 computers off because I'm up on another one. It only gives one screen.
Cool.
All right.
Whoa, that's cool.
I'm only seeing like 9 people in my video wall, and I don't know how to see more.
I don't know.
I see 18 on mine.
Yeah, I can see now 19 on mine. And we have
in your video wall?
Yep.
Yeah. Go to the left-hand side of. Are you using the app or the web?
Oh, wait a second. Maybe I just did something here where it says "Don't show participants with video off."
There you go.
So now I'm seeing more people, but
So
I
we
wasn't
have-
seeing. Okay, you said go to the left and what? And then what? I have
Well,
gallery
in the
and
app,
clip.
there's gallery. Well, but you're right. If you didn't see the ones who don't have their video on, like right now, there's 3 people who don't have their video on, so you wouldn't have seen them in your list. But I'm most interested in somebody it's like our mystery person who has the name Guest, and I think I know who it is. He looks somewhat familiar to me.
Guest. Be our guest. Put our service to the
get rid of
test.
him.
That's yeah.
Any other Cocoa Pie questions?
Yeah, right. So
Yeah, we don't like Cocoa Pie. Guest. Ron, your name is Guest. You can.
Why is my name Guest? All right.
You're so loud.
Ron.
You,
Hey, Ron. Oh, let me turn it down. Hold on.
You are rumbling the cortex of my scrotum right now with that volume, sir. So.
Ouch.
Yeah, my earpods
How about
are
now?
out.
Better?
More if you can.
Can go a little bit lower.
How about now?
More bass.
Still pretty hot.
Wow, I got it turned way down.
Okay, there you go. Now you're good.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Same here. My face is bigger and my audio is louder. I'm not really sure why.
Now, if you can just figure out how to be your real self,
Unfortunately,
that I don't know.
Yeah, 'cause I keep
How you
looking at you.
doing,
And
Ron?
I think that's not Christopher Guest. I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Can anyone hear me now?
Yeah,
yeah.
Mark
Yes.
Mosley, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm just finally finding where the preferences are.
So Brian Goers was asking Raspberry Pi questions, Ron Klein. No pressure, but
I heard a few. I was flipping channels on YouTube. My wife saw you guys on and said, "You better hop on there and start answering questions."
You're being summoned. Your ears were ringing.
Yeah.
So
It could just mean she wanted peace and quiet, but anyway.
Right.
Yeah, that too. Puts me down
One
in
of
the basement.
Yeah, one of the questions was, would it run in as low as 2 gigs of RAM? I think Brian Joyce said it would. And what is your suggestion on that, Ron Klein,
Yeah, I
as far
think
as
it
RAM?
actually might even go down to 1. Let me double check. I'm going to log into my 3 here real quick because I think that's only a 1 gig system.
Okay. Chuck, we see you.
I
Saw
ran
you
MAME
waving.
on 1 gig. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear
Can
you,
hear
Chuck.
you.
Okay, good. I'm not echoing anymore. This is good.
Yay.
And you can hear us okay?
So how is it you can see everybody?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay.
A little bit echo. What was that, Ron?
How
Yeah,
is
it
it you
should
can
work
see
in-
everybody?
Oh, Ron Delvaux, there he is.
The gallery view, which has like the 4 squares. I'm not sure if you're doing this in the
I clicked
browser.
it, I only got
And then I went
I only
into settings. I clicked on
Yeah.
the settings in the top right, and I basically have everything unchecked. So there was one that said, don't show participants with video off. I turned that off.
I don't see that in.
Okay, can you
Zoom
guys
has
hear
all
me
those
now?
same settings.
Who said
Yeah.
that? Somebody said that.
Rich Chryslip
Mark.
did that. I can hear and see him.
Well, you should only see one of me now because I got rid of those other 2 computers. I'm on a
Okay.
third one.
Yeah. We see you, Rich.
Yep.
I see you. I see you as one person now.
So Ron, your network connection is kind of not great right now. You're in the red category. So just so you're aware.
Oh.
Ron
Okay.
Delvaux is who you're saying
Ron,
to, right?
sorry,
Maybe that's
Ron
why.
Darvell.
Oh.
His
right.
bumped back up. It's
Yeah.
in the green.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, Ron Klein. You're fine. Forgot we had 2 Rons on the line now. Well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, hey, yeah, Brian, say hi to Ron Klein. Ron Klein, Brian Goers. You
Hi,
guys
Ron.
should hook up and chat with each other about Cocoa Pie, because there you go. That's the man who
He's the
knows.
man on this.
Yeah, you got to find something less boring to talk about. Move on from Cocoa Pie.
Nothing to see here. It's only the greatest invention to ever hit the Raspberry Pi platform. What are you talking about, Ron?
Yeah, you guys were, Jim, I know you were talking about the Raspberry Pi 400. It's running pretty good on that. Actually, that's probably now, performance-wise, it's actually a little more even than the Raspberry Pi 4. 4 gig is fine. You're getting the 8s. There's no issue there. So for people that are looking, I don't even know if you can get an 8 gig Raspberry Pi 400. I thought it only came in 4 gig. Okay.
Yeah, no, I was I was talking about, I don't know that you can get a Raspberry Pi 400 in an 8 gig, but I was buying a Raspberry Pi 4.
Yeah, they're
in an 8
fine.
gig.
They're great.
Mm-hmm.
Do they run OS 9 also or Nitrous 9?
Yeah, actually, some of the testing that I'm doing for ease of use, like that Curtis and Bill are putting out, I'm running it on the Pi. So yeah, it works real well.
Did you get that one problem resolved from this morning yet, or is that still an issue?
No, actually, I'm down here now, so I was going to tinker with that swap boot to see if the 6809 version of the clock will come up. Otherwise, the other one on the 6309 images were working great. So VCC and MAME were both working very well.
Yeah, because I think it was 5 in the morning when I released that, and I was kind of tired, so I think I screwed up, and I was manually swapping stuff just to make it a bit faster. And I think I missed getting the whole thing properly set up, so it's got a mixture of a driver that does one thing and the rest of it's doing something else.
Hey,
Yeah,
Curtis?
that's an easy fix, though, if that's all it is. So.
Yeah, just run swap boot and set it over.
Curtis, friends don't let friends release things at 5 in the morning, okay?
Well, I don't think Bill did that at 5 in the morning last time, did he?
Everything I've seen about this Nitrous OS 9 has been amazing. You did an amazing job, Curtis.
Thanks. I'm not sure if the beta testers agree with you right now because there's some stuff that's not quite working right.
Oh, it's really good. It's been fun to play with. There's a lot in there, a lot more than I've even. Now I know how you can get into something that's kind of overwhelming at first because I never used OS 9 or Nitrous 9 back in the day, but it's coming. I can appreciate it a lot more now because I have a lot of Linux experience. So when I use Nitrous 9, it's like sitting in front of a Unix or Linux system in a lot of ways. So it was way ahead of its time.
Very
It
much
sure
so.
seems like.
Yeah. One thing I'm having trouble with, and maybe some of you guys that are a bit more newer to Nitrous 9 can help me with, is trying to give very simple instructions to get some basic things set up and running the way people want. Because now the instructions are starting to get larger and larger and larger, and people don't read them. Some of you guys that are a bit newer to Nitrous 9 can help me with, is trying to give very simple instructions to get some basic things set up and running the way people want.
Whoa. That's a big echo.
That's a late echo.
That is
Someone's in the Grand Canyon here.
You just need
Sounds
an
like it's coming
installer
from
like
Scott.
Windows.
Is trying to give very simple instructions to get some basic things. Scott, if you have headphones, please put them on.
Coming around again.
That would be that would probably be Sloopy. He's been having echo.
No, that
reverb.
sounded like it was coming from Scott Went.
Oh, was it?
He
Okay.
he was green. Yeah, he was bordered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So Curtis, all you need is an installer, just like Windows.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, welcome to the
Actually-
Nitrous 9 install shield. Click next to begin.
I know, I'm
Wait,
supposed to
maybe
be
an
that guy.
update.
Just drag it onto your SDC and you're done. That's easy enough.
Maybe an update for Win95.
Yeah.
On topic.
Well, there's a Windows 95 boot on there, but
You guys ever run the Windows 95 boot
Windows 09.
on Nitrous 9? You should run it.
Okay.
It's fun.
yeah, Brian Schubring did an extended version of it too.
Oh Lord.
Involves some HAL 9000 action on it.
Hey, Salvador.
Hey, hi.
Oh, you're coming in hot. Yeah, Blue Jeans is really over-modulating these volume levels out of the box. Salvador, thanks for that article. That was really good. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sometimes the real life adventures are what makes the best story.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, where's this email from Curtis? There it is.
Now, is your email from L. Curtis Boyle, our Hispanic one, or Le Curtis Boyle, our French one?
It says in quotes, L. Curtis Boyle.
Okay. Okay, L.Curtis.boyle.nitrous.09.6309.
Yeah, .crash.boot. Yeah.
.crash.boot. Yeah.
Good, I can use this to the new Nitrous 9 to go through my setup procedure.
Oh, I saw I got a few comments on my Pi DriveWire video today, so I was responding to those, and I looked at my video because it's been so long since it's been like, oh yeah, I forgot all about that. I should probably be doing some more Pi DriveWire stuff again. So
Yeah, I have to get the promised release out first.
I tell you what, I just caught the video from Robert Sieg where he's got the Coco VGA running on the MC10, and he has that picture of 6 of 9, and it's like the colors are pulsating in and out and stuff like the dithering. It's kind of like this hallucinogenic rainbow effect, and this is on the MC10 with the Coco VGA. It look really, really cool. So it's like like you guys are talking about the Pi 400, and it's like I want one. But I'm like, I've got a Pi 3 that I'm not using. I got a Pi 4 I barely touch. Do I need this Pi 400 that I'll probably use 2 times a year? It's just like all these little toys that you want that just pile up. But now that I've seen the frickin' Coco VGA and the MC10 with the MC32 SD, I'm like, I want one of those too. You know? So, what do you got there?
There it is. He's hypnotizing you.
Yeah.
Buy a 4.
Yes, is that your Pi 400 right there? It's Pi 4.
Yeah, 4 that just showed up in the box.
I got one of I've got a 3 and a 4 now, so it's like, do I need this 400? Where am I going to put it?
Well, you know, you can take you take the 4, you stick a USB module in one of the USB ports, sticky tape it on the back of your module, your monitor, and you're good.
There you go.
Got a whole machine ready to go.
USB keyboard, and yeah, you're all.
Mrs. Knight's
and if
seeing
you're a
some
ham radio
different
guy,
faces
you
too.
want one of these.
Ah, look at that.
What's that?
These are awesome.
It's that the virtual radio thing?
Yeah, it's the
the
RTL SDR.
Okay.
Scott, I can
Software
see you're trying to
design
talk, but we can see your lips moving, but don't hear any sound.
It's like a Pink Floyd song. No, he's talking to Scott Wentz.
Oh, okay.
Malfunction. Hey, Diego. Yeah, I'm kind
Hey,
of freaking
everybody.
out because the audio is coming in different ears, and like the sound is not matching who's talking on the screen right. Like, who's talking? What is that? I'm turning my head like, what's going on here, man?
Yeah, why is the stereo different?
Yeah.
That's
And
weird.
Diego, you're coming in a bit hot too, which seems to be a problem with Blue Jeans.
Yeah, it seems like when everybody joins, their volumes are really loud. So you might have to lower
Ooh,
your.
okay.
Might have to lower. You might have to go into your Blue Jeans audio settings and lower your microphone input or something.
How do you make your screen gallery?
There's a little icon on mine. It's in the bottom left, and it's got like 4 squares. And when I click on the one with the 4 squares, that puts up the kind of the gallery view.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in here. Very cool.
Yeah. And we got some different faces than we get to see all the time. So it's good to see John Mark and a lot of the Glenside folks here. So Richard Chrislip and Chuck. Where did we meet you, Chuck? I remember meeting you at VCF Midwest
at
last
VCF.
year. But were you ever at a Cocoa Fest too?
No, and this was going to be my first year, and it
Okay.
didn't happen. So theoretically, I already have a reservation for next year. But
There you go.
I don't know because I
Brian's
left
there.
my money with it. So
Did you at least get a chance to watch the virtual fest?
yes, I did. It was awesome.
Okay, so somebody named Truth Seekers is saying, hello, everyone. Thanks to Ron for trying to get my Coco 3 reading and writing data again. Thank you, Truth Seekers. Which Ron is he talking about? Ron Klein? Ron Delvaux?
Probably. Good question.
Ron DeVoe. Is that how that's pronounced?
Delvaux.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I mean,
It sounds best when you say it in a heavy French accent, when you say, Ron Delvaux! Oh, he's saying it's Stephen Cambion, and it was Ron Delvaux who helped him.
That was me. I tried helping.
Cool.
Where are you seeing that in the chat?
In the, I'm seeing that in the live YouTube chat.
Oh, got it. Okay, I was going to
We're
say. I
streaming.
can see that.
Oh
Got
yeah.
it.
By the way,
Fair
we're
enough.
streaming on the internet, everybody. put your clothes on.
get your mask on.
Yeah, right.
Does Steve have his video up?
There is something that when you mispronounce Ron's name as Delvox, it does have a certain
Delvox.
serial communication sound to it.
Oh, Vox, like communications, right? Yeah.
Hey,
Ron Deluxe.
Ron Deluxe.
Ron
that's a good
Deluxe.
one. That sounds like a sandwich.
Yeah.
I'll have the Ron Deluxe, please. Extra pickle.
I got 3/4 of the way through Don Quixote before I learned how to pronounce it.
Oh, goodness gracious. Diego, I met Diego at Cocoa Fest a couple years ago. And who else have I met? I've met Richard. I've met Chuck.
Yeah.
I have met Brian Goers. I have met Eric.
Not in this one.
I've met John Mark Mobley. I've met Ron Klein. I've met Salvador. I've met Jim Brain, unfortunately. I've met Brian Weasley.
That's a mutual unfortunate there.
Mutually unfortunate.
The unfortunate is all mine, sir.
I was hoping Tony would show up.
Yeah. We need to get Bob on here. Where's Bob Swoger when we really want him here? Well, come on. Got to liven things up.
That's somebody we need to buy a microphone and a
Yes, a microphone and a headset.
Man needs a microphone and a headset.
Brian Weezer. I met Brian Weezer. I met Ron Delvaux there. I met Michael Furman. Diego, Mark. Is that Mark? Marco? Is that Marco?
No, it'd be Marco. That he normally signs out with Marco, so that must be.
I'm not sure who David Davidson is, but hello, if you're out there, I think you were muted on the meeting call too. And then Jim Mazurek, I recognize that name, Jim Mazurek, but I can't put
He's
a
been
face
at
to the
Cocoa
name.
Fest. He actually was on video before there, and I've definitely met him.
I didn't see it. But hi, guys, if you're muted, hello.
Yep. And
Rick, did you come to the last Cocoa Fest? Rick Eulin?
Oh, my last Cocoa Fest was '96.
Oh, wow.
So I've missed a
geez.
few.
1896.
Costly.
1896.
That was a big jam session there, if I remember correctly.
Back at the original
Elgin.
Holiday Inn / Ramada Inn / whatever the hell it was the last year, where it smelled like bad swimming pools.
And then True Seekers again. Ron, we have another message for you, Ron Delvaux or Ron Deluxe. True Seekers is saying, I'll be getting an HDB DOS program pack and DriveWire. Can't wait to use my Coco 3 again. Thanks, Ron. There you go. Thank you, Ron.
Cool.
Ron's a good guy. Ron's one of the best.
I was going
That's
to
why he's
tell
deluxe.
He's Ron Deluxe.
David Davidson, I might have muted him from the master console, so I unmuted him. So if he was, I know, I may have been a bad boy and shut him down.
All right, all in
Throwing his
favor
authority
of
around as usual.
All in favor of impeaching Jim Brain? Let's put it to a vote.
Wow, that was quick term.
Just remember,
Sorry, Jim.
impeaching, someone's going to replace him.
That's it. There's a drop of blood in the water. The sharks are swarming. So.
Yeah, really. Well, you know, if I get impeached, then you know who's next in line. That would be Terry. So I guess if you really want Terry to be your president, then okay. But I'm just saying.
Where is that Terry Steggy? Speaking of impeaching, he's not even here. He doesn't he have like an obligation to his country and fellow folk to be here?
He does.
Is there going to be free COVID shots at the next test?
I'm waiting for the COVID patch myself.
I'd break it up a little bit here.
That's a slow dose COVID patch.
That's right. Well, you know, we're Coco Essentials, so.
Yeah. I'm going for the COVID nasal spray since you're already used to getting Q-tips jammed down to the back of your brain. What the heck?
No kidding. Oof.
And for those who
Thank
don't
God
like the taste of the COVID chewables, there will be a COVID suppository as well. So.
The good thing they didn't call it Coco instead of COVID.
Yeah, the Coco, that would really ruin it for our community, huh? The Coco virus.
Yeah. You got the Coco virus?
Why do you guys keep talking about that Coco virus every week? What are you doing?
It's already bad enough.
The one thing
with
that I
Disney.
haven't had is a virus for the Coco. That's a good thing.
Well, you know, for a while,
made one.
For a while, it was called coronavirus, and there were so many people who were like, "Well, I'm not buying that beer anymore."
Yeah, that was bad.
And I'm thinking, you got to be kidding! You can't possibly think that's what that means, but they did.
These people should die. Darwin has been proven by proving the reverse.
Maybe if they had named it the McDonald's virus, some people would improve their health, you know?
Right?
That's right.
Ooh,
McDonald's
there you go.
There's an idea there.
Just to build up an immunity. So
Yeah.
That's right.
Richard.
Hello.
How are you?
How you doing?
Coming in loud and clear.
Yeah, everybody that joined seemed to be running hot and their microphones, so you might have to turn yours down.
Is mine too hot?
No, yours is
good,
fine.
Richard Chrislip.
Good. Yeah, we got a couple Richards here, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, Richard Bear, you are hot. Your microphone is hot. You can turn it down.
Let's see. I might need advice on how to do that. Let's see. Is that in settings?
Could be, yeah. Let's take a look. We'll go to settings.
Oh, here, audio.
Honestly, I don't see it under microphone. Would it be under preferences?
I didn't find it either.
I had to use the Windows settings. I don't know if you can hear me fine or if it's still too loud or.
You can, but you are still a little hot. So you could definitely go down a bit.
I'll just back up.
What about now?
That's doing pretty good there.
Oh, there's actually a way to turn on a lower third too. So if you wanted to embed your name in the video, you could. That's kind of a neat feature. Yeah, I don't see it in Blue Jeans how to do it.
No, I had to hit.
I had to use the Windows settings.
Yeah, so Richard, you can just go to microphone settings just click on your little Windows bar if you're using Windows.
Well, no,
I don't know what it is.
This is the
Mac?
Apple computer.
Oh yeah, and I don't have my Apple up, so I don't know what it is on the Mac.
Well,
I think you just go to I think you just go to the big search button and click on microphone, and it should bring up a settings window for you.
On the Mac, you go to up at the little apple in the corner, System Preferences, and Sound.
There you go.
And then go to Input.
Ron Menman says this is the best part of the show.
Yeah, I was trying to close out of settings, and I closed Blue Jeans, so I just accidentally killed the people who were watching in the stream there for a second. Anyway, so
I noticed you
One way to cut down your volume, Stevie.
yeah.
Well, cool. Well, hey, looks like we got quite a few folks in right now. For those who just joined, thanks for. That's doing pretty good. Could be a little bit lighter.
Are you answering me?
Oh yeah, you're coming in loud and clear.
Down some more then.
So for those of you just joined, this is first annual Glenside Holiday Virtual Open House. Come and go as you please. We are streaming on YouTube. Are we on Facebook too, Steve?
That's a big 10-4, Mr. President.
Okay, so we are on Facebook and YouTube. Not that you'd care, but if you're planning on doing something indecent, then I would refrain from doing that.
Oh man,
I know. Sorry to ruin the
I'm in a catch-22 situation here because in order to get pants on, I have to get up to go get pants, so that's not going to work.
And I have 3 letters for that. T M.
That's why I had to turn my camera
up. Yeah, 3 Mile Island. Yeah. So don't really have an agenda tonight, but definitely we've been talking about a couple topics. Obviously, one of the topics that keeps surfacing is how to do configuration in Blue Jeans, which is really not necessarily one of the preferred topics for this evening, but I understand the necessity of it.
Myself.
We did some Cocoa Pie discussions. I have up on my screen, I think, the one of I don't know if you all know, but Boise Pete has come out with a new networking system for the Cocoa, and somebody else is going to have to help me with the name. It's some multi-headed monster, but I have no idea.
Ghidra. It's Ghidra.
Ghidra. Okay, so
Ghidra.
That was a Hydra.
Okay.
Yeah.
Although
So anyway,
we can also argue whether it's pronounced Ghidorah or Ghidorah, because I've seen Japanese movies pronounce it either way.
there you go. Well, then I will go with either one of them. But we were in Discord the other day chatting about how to make it a little easier, and Boise suggested maybe there was some way to make a printed circuit board that people could use their regular drive wire cables to. So if you can look at my screen right now, this little board, that little board right next to the pliers is a 4-port Ghidorah, whatever.
Oh,
wow.
So, and it looks
Nice.
like I'll flip over to another view so you can see it a little bit better.
that's like a Ghidorah hub or concentrator or whatever. Huh?
That's right. So let me see if I can get the picture there. So
This is
there
not
you go.
for people who are looking to buy their first Coco 3.
This is what?
He said
What'd you
this
say?
is
This
not
is for people. Yeah, people are trying to buy their first Coco 3 on eBay, and this is kind of for people who have 5 of them.
That's right. Yeah, this is not that.
I got 2.
I have 3.
So Brian Weasler has to order a couple dozen of these boards, I think.
Yeah, so I was surprised. A whole bunch of people were like, "Hey, I want one." So, but this is a it's actually got 6 ports on it. One's an in and an out, and then there's space for 4 computers with the little switches on it. So,
is this the because we can category?
I think there's some good use cases for the networking. It's really cheap. It just uses drive wire cables. So if you've got a drive wire cable, then you're good to go. I think Boise, once he gets the software so that it's doing something, I mean, he's got proof of concept right now and some kind of small test programs, but one of the things it could do is it could do a multiplayer game. It could have synchronization. We could put like 4 or 8 Cocos on a shelf and put like 8 monitors on a wall, 9 monitors, let's say 9 monitors. You could do like a 3x3, like a big video wall of monitors. So that might be interesting.
So it does software switching, or?
I mean software switching.
You said it's got space for 4 cables to 4 different.
Yeah, it does. Let me go back here. Let me flip to another view because that one's.
Yeah, it's kind of like a token ring concept where every device gets its own ID.
Whoops.
Nice.
So there is.
So
you can go ahead.
We could run a BBS with this with 4 people able to connect to a Coco.
That's that's a possibility. Yeah. So
that'd be cool.
The technology, if people remember correctly, is my kind of like token ring. So IBM's token ring technology. So this is kind of that setup. And then as you can see on the board right there, you've got the 4 ports on the ends, and then you've got right here, you've got 1 port. Like this one right here is on top. This goes to so you can stack these. You can put more than one of these boards together. So you plug them together using this. This is the one that sits on the bottom, and then this one over here sits on the top. It pokes to the top, so you can put another one of these boards. I don't have another one laid out, but you can put another board, stack another board on top of it, so you can sit them on the floor or sit them on the table and stack them up.
So wouldn't it even be possible to print a case for that?
Well, you would print a case for each one, and then you could just stack the cases. Like you used to be able to stack like Hayes smart modems. They would kind of sit on top of one another. It'd be the same kind of idea.
Do they come pre-built, or do you have to build your own?
Well, right now this is just a prototype, so I wasn't anticipating there'd be so many people that wanted finished units. So I'm going to have to think that through. I'm not sure I want to sit around all day soldering these things up, but we'll see.
I get it.
Hey, let me know when I can get one. I'll see if I can do a case design.
Yeah. But anyway, encourage you to try if you got you can try out Boise's program even with just one computer and one drive wire cable, but this will allow you to do more than one. Excuse me.
I definitely want to try it. And you could use a real Coco and emulated Coco at the same time, networked. So even if you don't have more than one Coco, you could develop with this board.
You can. You'd have to ask Boise how you hook the virtual Coco into the.
Maybe an emulator would need to be updated or something for that. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
So in any event. A little bit of Coco product prototyping anyway, coming down the pipe. I haven't talked to Boise.
Tim Lindner's on the call. He chimed in. He says he knows how to do it. He updated the Dragon emulator to talk to real serial ports, so that might be one way to do it through MAME.
Cool.
So where there's a will, there's a way.
That's
all
right.
These Cocos can calculate pi out to the 10 billionth.
That's right.
Decimal point.
That's right. Indeed. So that's a recently added piece that that Boise put together. So this is just this just goes along with this project. There's not a whole lot on the board. It's just a couple connectors and a way to, splice them together so they all make one big unbroken chain of Coco communications, I guess.
Exactly.
So is that toggle switch? Is that toggle switch basically a terminator to cap off whichever port's not being used?
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. Now, what I was trying to do is come up with a way that it could be like automatic. So if it didn't find anything connected to it, that it would automatically turn itself off. But that takes a little bit more design. So I thought, well, this is a manual approach, and it's dirt simple. So we'll get this working, and then once we get this working, then we can take a look at a more automatic way of doing it. But
wouldn't it be cool if Boise's computers? Wouldn't it be cool if Boise's computers could work on the SETI group where they
right.
try to find life.
You could do that. I mean,
Outer space.
you could. I mean, his program allows you to control the Coco from another computer. So definitely there's quite a few options available once this gets set up. Anyway, so there you go. I don't know if anybody else has got some cool stuff end of the year yumminess that they want to talk about relative to the Coco, but that's what I'm working on here.
That work on a Coco FPGA?
If the Coco FPGA has an RS or has a serial port on it, then it should.
Okay. It does, now that you mention it.
Yeah, well, as long as it works like the normal serial port, you can run DriveWire off of it. You can run this off of it.
See, that's cool because I have 2 of those.
I've got to go get a drink. You just mentioned DriveWire. If you guys if you don't know, it's the DriveWire drinking game. Anytime DriveWire is mentioned, you must take a shot or do a drink. So.
And I got to go get a drink too, just because I said that.
DriveWire.
Lord.
Oh, jeez.
It's going to be a long night. No.
Right.
How many times can we work DriveWire into a sentence?
Oh, jeez. Here we go.
I'll drink my coffee. The other stuff's the dog. I don't want to wake up.
Well, one good thing is VCC has been being worked on.
Yeah. What level's that up to?
I did see that.
Yeah, they're fixing things, making
there's
it so you
another
can
release
drag
of
and
that coming
drop.
out within a week or two, too, I believe.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Did they ever get the bugs worked out of the Python DriveWire?
Depends on what bugs you're talking about.
Well, I'm not that familiar with it. I mean, I've been catching it off the multimedia discussion, which has been few and far between lately. But I know that there was a problem with some people.
Well, Michael, aren't you the creator of the Python version of DriveWire?
I am, yeah. So
there you go. If there's a bug,
I need to, if you tell me what the issues are, I can work on them.
Well, let me get it downloaded and I'll try to install it and make it work. I never even tried it because I've been using DriveWire 4. It's been working just fine. Yeah, but understand that yours is more capable. Kind of got scared.
At least for some people, it's going to be easier to install, and it's being actively developed. So if you have problems, I can try to adjust them. But the DriveWire 4 server, it's not actively being worked on. So
what version of Python does it work on? 2 or 3?
It's still Python 2. We're working on Python 3.1.
There's the problem I've been hearing. Python 3. Okay.
What do you got there, Stevie?
Captain Morgan.
So every time you guys mention DriveWire, I'm taking some of the Captain Morgans here.
Okay, we need to seriously.
DriveWire.
We need to seriously make sure we don't say that too often.
This is the captain's private stock right
DriveWire. Hey, Steve, have you used DriveWire lately?
I've never used DriveWire.
Neither have I, but I think DriveWire would be a good thing to try to use.
That's good. Sweet.
Well, you can help us test DriveWire on the new DriveWire edition of VOU then.
Yes.
You have another bottle there, Steve? You're going to be running pretty quick.
I have multiple bottles of rum in the house, trust me. I have a wife and 2 kids, so this is how I self-medicate. So.
Yeah, but I don't think you're running through the entire stash tonight. I don't think that was your original plan.
Oh, and Stephen Cambion says, I want to thank Paul Shoemaker. He's found me an HBD DOS program pack so I can use my Coco 3 with DriveWire.
All right.
I didn't
I've been
have
following
that.
that on Facebook.
Yeah.
Cool.
You guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Jeff.
Okay. I got laid off in October, so I've been getting back and trying to get some things up and going on Cocoa projects, which I had to put to the side because trying to work hard to keep from getting laid off. And that didn't work.
How'd that work for you? Sorry to hear that, Jeff.
Yeah, it's
Sorry that happened.
well, it turns out primarily I was getting paid more than other people, and they decided to downsize some more because of COVID.
That happened in L3.
Yeah, and so I do have a case probably for the Symphony 12 board that Jim Brain has put out there. I need to do some final things. Working on getting some games back up and running. Some games that's under development back in the development stage. So between, looking for work and doing a bunch of coding.
So John, what area of the country you live in?
I live in Michigan.
Okay. Because the company I work for is looking for people. They're going to be hiring like 700 people in the next little bit.
Okay. Yeah,
but it's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, though, so you're a little far.
Yeah.
A little far away.
Oh,
Well, just ping me with the information, John Strong at Hotmail. We'll see what they're.
Okay.
All
right.
But the people I'm talking to right now, they're not probably hiring until the first of the year. We're not setting too bad yet. We got some severance pay and stuff, but you don't want to run out of everything.
Right.
Yeah, sorry to hear that, John, but I'm glad you've got some time for Cocoa projects.
Did you stock up on the toilet paper?
Oh yeah, my wife stocked up on that.
What?
That's one reason I hate this stuff. Okay, is because it encourages her to overstock. Okay, but
you go to
in case
Costco,
people
you're
don't
allowed
know out there in Michigan, our governor kind of has overran her authority, according to our Supreme Court. So a lot of people's not happy. We see ads that'll say our governor is an idiot on billboards. So that kind of gives you the status of where our state's going without commenting anymore.
I used to live in. It's not real popular either. He's an R.
Yeah. I used to live in Michigan, and that even in the best of years, that state's a little bit interesting. Let's put it that way.
Well, yeah, it is interesting. I
probably nothing
Indiana.
like California.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. I've never lived in California. I remember when I moved when we moved to Michigan, we went to get insurance, and maybe this is the case for a lot of states, but I was from Illinois, and so we moved to Michigan and we went to get insurance, and they said, okay, you can get insurance, and when we looked at the insurance premiums, and they were just like so much higher than I was used to, and even though we were young, I was thinking, man, I'm actually I'm over 18, and he's like, yeah. He said, where'd you come from? And we're like, well, Illinois. He's like, yeah. Have you ever heard of a thing called no fault insurance? And I'm like, no, what does that mean? And he goes, well, that's what Michigan has. They have no fault insurance. And I said, so nobody's at fault when you get in an accident? And he's like, yeah, no, that's not what that means. He said, what it means is no matter who's at fault, you have to pay for whatever things happen to your vehicle, your medical or whatever. It's all on you. So so even if you're a good driver, it doesn't really matter, because if somebody hits you, we still got to pay out for whatever accident you're involved in. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness gracious. So that was a huge awakening.
Is it actually is not just the auto insurance cost. It's if I would get hurt in a automobile accident and I'm crippled for life and I have to have medical treatment for life, the automobile insurance actually covers it.
Hmm.
And that's
Well,
why it's so expensive.
I was just surprised it was so expensive, and I realized so. And I don't mean this to sound overly religious, but if you are agnostic or maybe even completely beyond that, I think that you pretty much have to really rekindle your prayer life when you drive down I-96 going into Detroit on a weekday morning. Because I'm serious. We drove up there, and I was fresh out of college, and I had a job in Farmington Hills, which is a suburb of Detroit. And so in order to get to it, I had to drive on I-96, which is the big horizontal interstate that goes from the east side of, east part of like Detroit all the way to the west side of Michigan. And I was driving a Ford Thunderbird, which is not exactly a don't get up and go car. And so I got on I-96 at Brighton, Michigan, and I was driving towards Detroit. And I was driving 65 mile an hour, which was the speed limit. I probably was going a little bit faster, maybe 68 or whatever. And people were passing me like I was standing still. And I am not
Like
joking.
Chicago.
Huh?
That's like Chicago.
Oh, yeah,
right.
exactly.
It's
Only
gotta slow
Chicago.
down to get out of Chicago. You get a ticket.
That's right. So I was driving along, and I was like, okay, well, you know what? When in Rome, do as the Romans do. So I started speeding up. The poor car got up to 89 mile an hour, and people were still passing me like with ease. And I was afraid to go that's 90 mile an hour. And luckily it was like the middle of summer and it was clear skies, but I was like, there's no way. If it's raining or it's snowing, this would be just an exercise in trying to kill yourself. And it was true. I would go to work later in the morning because I lived about an hour away. My wife was still going to college, and so we lived about an hour away, and we split the distance between Lansing, Michigan, which is towards more a little bit east or west center of the state, and the Detroit, which is far on the east side. And we lived about in the middle, and that was 2 hours between those two cities, so about an hour for each one of us each way. I would start to go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, and when it snowed, which it happens to do, in case you're all wondering, in Michigan, quite a bit in the winter. By the time I got on the road, you could not go 2 miles. You could not go 2 miles down the road without seeing a car in the ditch. And I don't mean like off on the side of the road. I mean in the ditch, turned around, backwards, sometimes upside down. And I just went the whole way, because it's like they don't drive, they speed. It doesn't matter whether it's snow, rain, doesn't matter. They just 85, 90 mile an hour. That's just the way it is in Detroit. And we figured it out. Before we left there, we figured it out. Everybody in Michigan either works at an automaker or knows somebody in their family that can get a really good deal on a car from an automaker. So I don't think they spend a whole lot of money for cars in Michigan. So as a result, they just wreck them and get new ones, as far as I could tell.
I want to total this one. Get a new one. Yeah.
That's right,
Well, it's gotten worse since then, Jim. They actually raised the speed limits up on the interstates, the 4-lane highways north of Lansing. So now instead of 70, it's 75. And I was personally against that because my attitude was, okay, they're already driving 90. You tell them they go 75, they're going to go 100.
That's right, man. And then the other cool thing for people who don't know about Michigan, so Michigan is really two different states, right? So there's Michigan, right, which I think everybody thinks about, which is like this, right? Yeah. This is Michigan, right?
Yeah.
But then there's another part of Michigan up here, right? There's another part that's like this, right? Yeah. This is the lower peninsula of Michigan, and this is the upper peninsula of Michigan. And the upper peninsula of Michigan really should have been attached to Wisconsin, right? It's really part of Wisconsin. But for some reason, through
the
who
reason
knows
for
what,
that is the Toledo Border War. It is
right.
The only war between two states that there was actual shots fired.
That's right.
Okay.
So as a result, Michigan has this part that sits above it that really isn't even connected to it. They had to build this big, huge bridge to get to it. Otherwise, you got to go through Wisconsin. But every holiday, right? Everybody in Lower Peninsula of Michigan owns like a summer spot up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And I know they do. It's like everybody. And so they don't. That's right, the Yoopers. And so every time there would be a 3-day vacation or a 3-day weekend or whatever, at like middle of the afternoon, the trip to north, which is like I-75 and US 23 going up to the Mackinac Bridge, Mackinac Bridge, I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, the big Mackinac Bridge. Anyway, bumper to bumper traffic, right? And I mean everybody is taking they're taking every toy they own up north, right? So they've got the truck with the fifth wheel behind it, and then they've got the boat hooked onto the fifth wheel behind their truck. So they're like 85, 90 feet long going up I-75 and US 23 to get to the UP. So they try to get off easy, and so they're like trying to get out of there by 3 o'clock, and it takes like 4 hours to get up to the UP. So they're trying to get us up there, and then they cram all in on Saturday and Sunday, and then Monday they got to make the trip back. And so we lived on one of those roads. We lived on US 23. And so every time there was a 3-day weekend, we tried to stay home, because at least until Saturday, because Friday was complete gridlock in the entire trip north. And then on Monday, like if it was Memorial Day or something, the Monday drive back, it was complete gridlock the other way, because they'd wait till the last possible moment, and then they'd have to get back home with their 90 or 100 feet long train of toys to get back in their house so that they could get ready for work the next morning. And of course, they're trying to drive 90 mile an hour in a truck with a fifth wheel and a boat behind it. And so, you can imagine how safe that looked on the road if you were behind somebody like that. So it was nuts. That whole state's whacked. I'm sorry. California may be whacked too, but Michigan's they're going to run for our money.
He left off 23. We live not very far from 127, which is one of the other north-south roads that runs into 75. So 127 runs south through Lansing, through that part of the state, and hits in 75, about 50 miles north of us. Okay, and so it's bumper traffic. You go there. When we were moving here to where we live now from Lansing, we did some really late night moves, and it would be like midnight on a Saturday night, and it'd be like, where's all this traffic coming from? And you just see it constant, and so it's not unusual to see the gridlocks out there and you have the drivers that drive like Jim's talking about.
Well, are you trying to bring this around to the Cocoa by saying you were involved with Nightmare Highway?
That's exactly. I could totally beat that game, because I've done the real thing in Michigan. Just drive in Michigan. That'll teach you how to play that game.
Yeah, and yes, I would agree with that.
He's talking about, it's not unusual to see, in the winter, at least a 25-car pileup multiple times on the highway. Sometimes a lot more than that, especially east of where you were, if you were Brighton at Howell by the outlet stores. Just to the east of that, there's a spot. It's a favorite spot for them to wreck. So it's like you said, it's bad.
That's cool, but it's nuts. So there you go. Yes, Nightmare Highway.
Yeah,
Nightmare Highway. That is definitely Michigan in a nutshell.
And they don't plow the interstate exits.
Yeah.
There's a big promotion right now. Buck off. Did you see it?
No, I didn't. He's got a promotion.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Tell him, Steve.
Yeah, it's a buck off.
It's already free.
Yeah, I was going to say, a buck off a free? Okay. I should
Yeah,
tell him
if I
pay me
shared the
$1.
commercial, you guys wouldn't hear it here. So.
Okay.
So this was
I know,
become the
John.
Inside Annual Traffic Discussion Group. Is that what happened?
That's right. That's right. While you were gone getting your Captain Morgan. No.
Well, every time you mentioned drive, I did take a sip of my rum and coke.
All right.
Drive wire.
We went. When you're in Michigan, obviously you're not that far away from Canada, right? So you're not that far away from Ontario, and so there were actually a lot of people who lived in Windsor, I think, is the city that's right next to Detroit, and then they would drive to Detroit for their job every day, which I thought was just completely nuts. But I was working at a software development company, and we had an occasion to do installs in Canada. I'd never been out of the country, so I led a sheltered life. I grew up in Illinois. And so when we first went across the border, so we had to go across the border, and then we were Canada. I'd never been in Canada before. And so I'm from rural Illinois. And so like everybody else, when I got on the interstate, and I know you all do this, like get on the interstate and there's a sign, a big green sign, and it says, turn off for this exit is in 1 mile. And you're like, oh, okay, that's fine. I'll think about getting over to the right-hand lane or something like that. And then it says a half a mile, and you're like, okay, I probably ought to be getting over in the right-hand lane right now. And it says a quarter mile, and you're like, I better be in the right-hand lane. Well, you go to Canada, and I'd forgotten about this, dumb me, because I'm definitely an American, and I think everybody should be using imperial units, but they don't in Canada. They use those crazy metric units. And so we're driving on the 401 or the 40 whatever, some big road. We're going to Chatham, Ontario, and I've got a seatmate, and he's like, the exit's coming up, and I'm like, no, won't worry about it. It's not like I don't know how to drive, right? And it says, the exit comes off in 1 kilometer. And you know what? When it says you're supposed to be getting off the exit in 1 kilometer, you better already be in the right-hand lane, because that's like a half a mile. I almost missed it.
And Detroit to Windsor is south into Canada, right?
You better
Detroit to Windsor, yes.
Look at the speedometer, because that ain't 100 mile an hour.
Well, that's the thing. And I did do that initially. I'm like, oh, cool. Man, they really know how to drive up here. And so I was pushing it up to 95. And the guy was like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, it says 100. He goes, that's 100 kilometers per hour. That's like 62. And I'm like, well, this sucks.
Officer.
All I remember is 88 is 55.
That's
The
right.
Windsor-Detroit crossing is the biggest land crossing port in the country. More traffic goes through there than any other crossing in the country. More merchandise, trucks, and stuff.
62 and a half.
COVID?
Huh?
How's that handled now with COVID?
I think they shut it. Oh, only for commercial. Only things go across are commercial. Isn't that right? Is Curtis still on?
Yeah, it is just essential travel only.
Yeah.
So if you got a job
across the border,
Canada, you're essential, I hope.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I guess I should ask some of those folks I used to work for or work with. I don't know. A lot of them, I assume, are working remote, so they're not coming across. But you're right. If you had a job and you had to go across in order to work, I would assume you'd have to get some sort of like a waiver or something.
Yeah, that was a big issue when they was talking about locking down Detroit, is they were saying so many nurses came from Windsor that they needed to allow for those situations, or there wouldn't be people to staff the Detroit hospitals.
Didn't even think about it. The nice thing for what's happened, I mean, obviously my fortunes have changed for the better and the worse through the year, which I'm sure everybody else probably has as well. But one of the nice things about 2020, I guess, for people that are working in the IT industry is a lot of the jobs went to remote. So that's been kind of cool, because you can sit here and answer. You can, this is my machine I use to take Zoom calls or whatever, and right next to it's a Coco, so I can technically be pseudo listening to playing
Absolutely.
a game on my. Jim, are you listening? Oh yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, I've been working remote since 2012, so.
Was that right?
I've been having my retirement at home just the same as before COVID. The only difference is nothing.
That's right.
It's all the same.
Hey, John. I tried to send an email to you, and I could not get it to. It got rejected from John.Strong.
It's one word.
It is
John
all one
Strong
word?
at
Okay.
Hotmail. Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh, thanks.
Every once in a while, though. Oh, go ahead.
When did you take the dot out?
Every once in a while, even though I'm locked down here, I get Brian Weasler coming over to my neck of the woods to say hi, take me out for lunch. So he's on the far right.
Nice.
He's on the far right side of Iowa, isn't that right, Brian? He's on mute. He's probably not even listening. Brian.
Is Kip Toon still active in the cocoa world?
Who?
Kip Toon, I think his name.
Yeah, I haven't seen him.
I did
lately.
exchange messages with him recently because I'm trying to get some Logical stuff from him for the next newsletter. So he's around.
Okay. Because I haven't seen him on multimedia for a long time.
Okay.
I've not seen him either.
Yeah,
Kind
we've
of lay him
exchanged Facebook messages. He actually gave me I got a random phone call out of the blue, and it was him. He was calling because I was trying to get some stuff from him in on this newsletter, and we didn't make the cutoff. So hopefully we'll get the big Logical for the next one.
Yeah, I'm going to send you, I think I told you in reply on multimedia, I have a Radio Shack Basic program that I rewrote that was a single player, and I rewrote it so two players could play it. Nothing big, but
Okay, so like a program listing that people can type in and run?
yeah.
Okay, that's cool. That's awesome.
So back in the day, did Rainbow or what was it, Hot Cocoa, I think, did they ever have like a special program you'd load it in so that when you typed in the listings, it would tell you at the end of the line whether you typed it in correctly or not? You ever seen
Rainbow
like
Check did do something similar to that, yes.
Okay.
Seems
There
all
you
the
go.
magazines had those.
Well, that's what I thought. I was just like, because nothing's so annoying as typing in the magazine article and typing in that, spending hours typing in this multi-page thing and then having it like die at the end of it before you even got a chance to play with it.
I actually learned Frogger in assembly.
Ugh.
Never could get it to work.
I actually learned Deck B by fixing the typos in the magazine as I typed in the
really?
program. I was like, oh, this can't be right. What would be valid basic here? Yeah, it was
I
a good
remember
learning experience.
I remember when I first got a home computer and I had enough money to buy the computer, but not any storage mechanism, right? So I had a couple games and I had the machine. And so I thought, well, that's okay. I'll type in this thing from one of the magazines and I'll just leave it running so that I can continue to play this game for whatever it was, right? And so I typed it all in and I got it running and then I made some changes to it because it was some sort of like skiing game, like a little ASCII thing, and the little trees were little semi-graphics on the side or whatever. So I had it all there, and I was so happy with it, and I wanted to show my parents this, obviously I wasn't that old, so I wanted to show my parents this masterpiece of programming that I constructed. And my sister, it was her day to vacuum in that room. And so, yeah.
Where is this going? Where is this going?
I know. So obviously there weren't a lot. We were in an old home and there weren't a lot of electrical outlets. And so you can about imagine what happened. And I was so heartbroken. I was like, my masterpiece. My parents felt so bad for me. They went out and bought me a cassette recorder so I could save the stuff off. So I was like, oh, so terrible. Scarred for life.
For the cocoa.
Huh?
I didn't get my first mass storage device until a year and a half after I got my first computer. For the following Christmas after I got my computer, I got a monitor. So I was the only kid that anyone knew that I had computer, I had a nice color monitor, but no storage device.
Yep.
I may be the only person who has saved their computer stuff on a 3.5-inch open reel tape deck that I bought at a garage sale.
Wow.
It worked. I mean, it wasn't a cassette recorder, but it was cheap, and it came with like 5 tapes. So.
I think you are absolutely correct.
Well, that tape probably is a lot more reliable too.
Yeah, it might have been.
What speed did you have it on?
I think it ran at 3 3/4. That was all it did. It did one thing.
Yeah.
It took them tape pucks and just ate through them. which is okay for a computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got my sound fixed.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah, I went to my son and I'm like, hey, do you have a spare pair of headphones or earbuds or something? And he goes, well, let me look because I don't really use them either. And he actually found a set of earbuds. The one earphone doesn't work, but one does, so it's all good.
There we go.
What is it?
5-inch black and white TV. That's what I
Right?
used first. So
My first was a 12-inch black and white.
5 inches
What-
it's really hard to do programming on a 5-inch
Well,
black and white TV.
When you're young, you can
That it
see
is.
8-inch tall letters.
Well, that's true, but I
Right?
mean, goodness gracious, look at that. I mean, that's like terrible. And it was fuzzy because it was only RF, right? So it was all fuzzy. So you had to be like, is that line really
I
a
would
line or is that part of the?
I would never use one of those.
Yeah, see, there you go, right? Mine's red though, so there.
Oh yeah, mine's just cheesy, but it's not peeled.
These are cute little things.
It
I
was
got
a
it. Hey,
color
I got
monitor, right?
I got my Coco to run on this. So this is probably the smallest TV that I own. So I don't know if anybody knows
Oh,
has ever seen
Oh
one
yeah.
of
Oh my
those.
God.
Where's
oh,
mine?
Those
watch
are
that.
those are
Yeah.
RF only. Like that's like over the air only, right?
That's right. I got
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
I got
That's the folded CRT, isn't it?
yes it is. That's right.
Sweet.
Mine's also
Here's my first display.
I can't find it. Where is it?
Where is it? Oh. So in order to do
Oh, well.
that, I had to buy they make an RF transmitter, and so I had to buy an RF transmitter so it would transmit to that little TV. It's amazing what you could
Mine
find on
has an
eBay now.
external antenna jack on it, so you can plug that into RF.
Yeah.
You must have a newer model than
jack
mine.
as well.
'Cause
I
mine
can't
doesn't
find
have
it
an
at the
external
moment.
jack.
But
I think I have one of each actually, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But you might be able to modify the antenna, but if you've got a transmitter, that'll work.
Yeah, you can. You could. I had it. You can like tie the RF output directly to the antenna and get it to pick up pretty good. So that works. But yeah, that's I always wanted one of these. I thought that was really cool to have
where did mine go?
a little CRT in your hand, right? So, but you wouldn't want to program on that all day, and guarantee you that would have been
Too small.
that's right, way too small. So, and somewhere I had let me see here, but I found the other day I was showing some folks that the CT101 is the world's smallest color television. So I picked one of those up the other day, and it's
Don't you
inch
love
and a
Radio
half.
Shack's acronyms? They're like TP for thermal printer and CT
That's
for
right.
color television.
That's
It's like,
right.
it's ingenious. DMP for dot matrix printer.
I always thought that was pretty cool. You
Yeah.
kind of could tell what it was when
Yeah.
you looked at it.
I had one
I
of
re-
those.
And CCR, what computer cassette recorder, CCR 81,
There you go. There you go.
Well, back in the day, we had channel 3 and 4 was taken up by a station nearby too. So you'd have bleed sometimes
That's
back
bad.
then.
Oh,
Now
bummer.
there's nothing.
Yeah, yeah. Never been a better time to plug your Coco into your old TV.
Yep.
Still looks like crud.
Yeah, it's like as far as
Depends on the TV.
analog broadcasts go, this is like a ghost town now. So
Right.
yeah, because I do that a lot. I'll take a Coco One and just plug it in with an RF cable to a TV, and the picture is super clean. I'm like, dude, I don't ever remember a Coco looking this good back in the day. It's just it's amazing. But I'm not using the switch box anymore. Just like the coax cable and the RF to RCA adapter, and it's just one cable, and like poof, it's like solid.
I know.
Maybe it's some Coke bottles you're using on your eyes there.
So you guys were talking about old TVs. Does anybody think? Because I don't have any. Like I started using a Coco when I was about 14, and I had an old crappy black and white TV that was really blurry. And by the time I was in high school, I needed glasses. Does anybody think looking at these old crappy televisions did anything to help deteriorate your eyes? Because when you're young, your eyes should be good, right? Why did I need glasses by the time I was in high school if I wasn't looking at crappy old TVs for 5 or 6 years? So.
It might be. It might very well be.
But I'll never know because I didn't have a life without the crappy old TV. So.
That's right.
I might have gone blind anyway. So.
The research I've read says that sunlight may have a big part of eyesight and your ability.
I didn't get a lot of sunlight back then either. So.
Right.
No.
So if you're indoors most of the time, I've heard that it can affect your eyesight.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can, Brian. How you doing?
Kind of along the sign with the small CRTs. I was kind of inspired actually by Boise's little demonstration. So out of curiosity, I went and found one, and I found for $30 that same screen that Boise had on his rack.
Oh wow!
I got the power adapter. So I found one of these things on the back. I'm waiting for the connectors. It has those BNC type connectors, the ones with
yeah.
you have to give them a little. You have to push them in and give them a little 90-degree twist.
Push and twist.
So these are. It has two composite inputs per little CRT, and so it does power on. It came with the power adapter. There's a lot of these out there on eBay, but most of them don't have the power adapter. This one I happened to pick up. And it appears to work so far because I get a little flicker on the screen, but until I can give it a signal, I guess I'm not going to know. But,
yeah, that's neat. I was impressed with that video where he had the rack and everything on the rack and all the screens across there. That was right. That was really neat.
So I was going to play around with this. I mean, who knows? It was just more of a impulse thing. So,
Brian, you've never really gotten out of control in your eBay habits yet, so indulge.
Really,
indulge, right?
What is it you've been looking for lately? Didn't you just put a notice up for something? Yeah, that you wanted.
Oh, I'm looking for a Birkenberg or any of the Birkenberg controllers, and then also too, I've been trying to. I had one when I was younger, and I just don't know. I've moved to like 5 different places, so I don't know if it just the box got lost. But I had one of the CGP 220 color inkjet type printers back in the day, and it used that roll paper. And I've been trying to locate one. The supplies pop up on eBay, but you just never see a printer at all pop up. So just thought I'd throw a shout out. Maybe somebody has one out there that's working, not using. So
there was one Cocoa Fest where we had 3 of them in a row.
Oh, of course.
Up for auction.
Those are the ones with the little pen plotter.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had they had little ink. Yeah, they had a little ink. Well, no, not the pen plotter. This is the CGP 220. This is the one that has the inkjet. Yeah, it's like an inkjet printer.
Inkjet.
Yep. It has a black cartridge, and then it has the second cartridge, which has your 3 colors in it, your CMYK.
It's actually the first inkjet.
Yep.
Canon made it.
Yep, Canon made it, exactly. Yep. And it has little tubes in there that feed up to the print head, and you can use sheet paper, or it had its own type of roll paper. It was kind of a clay-based type paper, if I remember right. So, yeah.
Good luck finding the ammo for it then.
I have ammo. I actually have a couple ink packs and paper, so I'm only missing the device. But
that's the switch.
Yeah, exactly.
Time is on your side.
What I don't understand is the little pin plotter. What was the number of it for the Coco?
CGP 115.
115.
The 115, yeah. So it's the one with the 3-inch paper roll and the little 4-color tiny little ink, like rollerball ink pins. So whoever made that, I don't know if it was Sakosha or whoever, but somebody made that little plotter mechanism, and Atari had one, and Tandy had one, and Commodore had one, and I don't even know, the TI I think it had one too. So they all made a plotter that they put with their machine or whatnot. And I remember, at least in the late 90s and early 2000s, the plotter maybe it was more popular in the Coco space, but in some of the other classic machine spaces, those things weren't even that popular when they were first, when they first came out. They were kind of a novelty item. And by the late 90s, early 2000s, you couldn't give them away, right? We'd put them at the free pile in the conventions when we'd go, and they wouldn't even get taken. Like people would be like, I don't want that. That's useless. And now there's people that are like recreating gears for them and trying to get new ink pen, refilling the little ink pens and trying to keep them running and finding the paper
what
for
I
'em
did
and everything.
with mine? I took a pencil and whittled it down so that it would fit into the machine, just like one of those ink things. And it would work like your plotter back there. It had pressure on it, so it would print with a pencil.
Right.
It worked. Just one.
I don't know.
Four of those.
Just didn't see them as. I did not see them as very useful even in the very beginning. But I guess.
No, I mean, my brother
watched and use.
My brother would he'd spend hours downstairs on my computer and making a lot of pictures, and I'm trying to find the diffs. I would like to find them again and bring them back to life. He did some really neat artwork with the Coco, and it was. I mean, they were painfully slow. I mean, you'd get a screen and you'd send that thing, and you could just about go outside and mow the yard and come back, and it would be done printing.
Right.
So
that's right.
So
when the 80s were, when we were all, well, I don't know everybody, but I grew up in the 80s, so I graduated high school in 89. So in the early 80s, I was in junior high and high school, or junior high, I guess, or maybe it's called middle school now. And when it turned 79, 80, it was all about what kind of home computer you had, right? But when things started out, there were a lot of us who didn't have a computer because we didn't have enough money for a computer. And then there was these the people who somehow their parents had connections and they got like the first round of computers. So like the Tandy Model 100 or the Tandy Model 1 or the Commodore PET or a friend of mine got a Capro, one of those big, transportable computers. And they were like the cool kids on the block because they had a computer of some type. But their computers wouldn't do. I don't know about the Model 1, but I'm pretty sure the Model 1 couldn't do graphics either. It was just text. And the Commodore PET couldn't do graphics unless you put in this special board that nobody had. And of course the K-Pro couldn't do graphics either. And so all the games were text, if they were arcade games, they used like text characters like you see Jim Gary do on the MC-10, semi-graphics and letters to A is a spaceship and stuff like that. Well, then in the 81, 82 time frame, we, some of us who hadn't had enough money to buy like a K-Pro or whatever, we finally had enough money to buy one of the true home computers, right? But those all had graphics. You had the Coco and you had the VIC-20 and you had the Atari 400 and whatever. So then all these people that we had held in such high esteem because they had the first computers, they were all of a sudden, they were like the out crowd because their computers didn't do graphics and ours did. And so we could, we had 8 colors and all they had was black and green or black and amber or whatever. And so it was kind of a comeuppance. The in-group shifted in school, right? It used to be you were the outcast because you didn't have a computer, and then you were like the in-group because you had a color computer or whatever.
They'd already called in all their favors to get the PET or whatever, and so that's what they were stuck with.
I remember. I mean, it was the thing with the PET. I'll be honest with you. The PET probably was, well, and the K-Pro too, right? They were so overwhelming type computer, especially the PET. The Commodore PET was this, huge.
PET was huge.
It weighed like 100 pounds or whatever, and all metal and had the monitor built into it or whatnot. And I always thought like, I'd be afraid to break it if I ever used it because it looked overwhelming or.
Well, and I remember for all of that, wasn't its keyboard like the size of a number pad? It was this little bitty postcard sized keyboard.
The
this
first
massive heavy computer.
The first one was it used like a calculator type keyboard, like you'd see on a point of sale terminal or an early TI calculator or whatever. Yeah, it was horrible. It was atrociously horrible. I remember more about the ones that had a regular keyboard, but you're right. The first ones did. They had that crazy little chiclet type keyboard. Not quite as bad as the Timex Sinclair, but almost as bad as the Timex Sinclair.
I grew up in the 70s, so we didn't have any computers at all. We had an IBM Selectric in a small like cloakroom, and it printed out what it printed out on the green bar paper was the monitor, and it was hooked up to another computer somewhere else.
Right.
And there's only a couple of people that were authorized to touch the keyboard, and so a bunch of us would come in and pack the room and watch as he played Hangman on it. That was it.
We had a
I used a lot of paper.
ASR.
Well, I grew up in the 60s, and in the Air Force, we operated IBM mainframes. That's what we used to talk to the operators with. I was an industrialized electric typewriter.
Yeah.
And whenever you wanted to send your command, you hit what you call end of block, you hit EOB key. Then 370s went to a dot matrix printer for operate with the operators. Wasn't until we hit the 30s, 3033s that they went to monitors.
My school had a 33 ASR. I remember the sound now. Chunk, 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 chunk.
Hey, yeah, that's right.
My school had a Burroughs B90.
Well, B260. The Burroughs B263 is the one I started out on. Full blown, it's a whopping 8K. Card in, card and paper out.
My wife went to school to learn how to program with the cards.
Oh, I still got some of those I got some of those unpunched cards laying around here somewhere. Unpunched. Unpunched, I don't have a puncher though for them.
You don't want to drop,
guys. So you guys have a good evening.
Okay, see you later, Brian.
And you have a good day.
Take care, Brian. Good to see you.
Holidays. See you all next year.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of the things I do, I don't know that I have here, but I remember when I was in high school, the typing class had whatever the IBM typewriter is that had the ball. You guys remember the
That's
ball?
the Selectric.
Yeah, the Selectric.
That's the one I was talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they made a printer version of that, right? They had the typewriter, and then they made a printer version. I don't remember what the number was, but they made a printer version of it. And one of the when I went to the University of Illinois, they did have the printer version of that, and it was hooked up to one of the computer systems. It was like a VAX or something like that, and it was printing out logs. And there is something just super cool about watching that ball spin around.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was.
It was silver. It was silver too.
I actually had one of those balls that was for APL.
Oh yeah. You did change out the ball. I remember that.
Yeah.
You could pop the ball out and you put another one in.
Yeah, and I had the ball for programming in APL. I didn't have the printer or anything, but I had the ball.
I don't think in the old days you would clean those balls in your mouth like you would with a mouse ball.
Oh my, no.
You're not?
But you would remember to put the little clip back down on top of it, otherwise your ball would fly across the room.
Yeah.
Where's my ball?
I did not know that. I absolutely did not. But I did. But to point that you make a good point. I've got a couple mice around here that are mechanic. They got the big heavy ball. And oh man, I went to use one the other day. And I think it was the Cocoa Mouse. I got it out because I was playing around with it to see, what kind of accuracy or resolution it or whatnot. Oh man, I'm spoiled. I mean, the mouse, like it weighs it's like pushing a brick around on the.
It's listed as a weapon.
It has balls of steel.
I know.
Really.
And I went upstairs and I told my daughter still at the house, and I told her about this mouse, and I told her about And then at some point I had to turn it over and take out the ball and clean it off. And she just looked at me like, I have no idea what you're talking about, right? I mean, she's
It was
totally
more
clueless.
like the rollers. I remember having to scrape the crud off of the rollers, the X and Y
Yeah.
roller inside the mouse port there.
Exactly.
Fair enough. So here you go. You guys will like this story. You guys will understand this story. Now, I'm going to tell you this story, and you're going to find it funny. But I'm going to tell you the really funny part about the story is my daughter is 16 years old, and my wife and I tried to tell her this story, and I realized that everything I'm about to tell you, she had no clue about. She doesn't understand this at all. But when we first got married, we were going to go. I mentioned we were going to move to Michigan. So we're in Illinois. We're in mid-state Illinois, and so my wife had a vehicle and I had a vehicle, and we needed to both get them up to Michigan to our new apartment. And so I went and I rented a U-Haul, one of those big, huge 25-foot long panel van U-Hauls, and we put everything that we were going to take up there in the U-Haul, and we had one of those car carrier things, those auto transports, and I drove my car up on the auto transport, and I was going to drive that big, huge, long chain of things up to Michigan, and my wife was going to drive the other vehicle. And so my grandfather was there, and he looked at me driving in with this big panel van, this guy who's never driven anything like that in his life. And he's like, Jim, are you okay about doing this? And I'm like, well, I got to get up there somehow. And he's like, well, you know what? Why don't I drive the panel van up to Michigan, and you drive your car, and your wife can drive her car up, because I think he was thinking we were going to end up crashing or something. So my grandfather volunteered to drive the big, huge 25-foot van, and we left the auto transport there, and he was going to drive the big van. But here's where the story gets interesting. So we were driving up to Michigan, and from mid-state Illinois to Michigan, you got to go through, basically you got to go over to Indianapolis, and then you have to drive north and just keep driving north until you get out of Indiana, and then you get into Michigan, and you go up past Kalamazoo or wherever, and then you end up, in the middle of Michigan. Well, we started out about 10 o'clock in the morning or so, and of course we're on Central Time, and Indiana is on Eastern Time, and so about 10 o'clock, and it's about 11:30 Central Time or about 12:30 Eastern, or at the time they didn't change their clock, so it was just 12:30 Indiana time or whatever, and we decided it was time to eat, but we're three different vehicles, and so we had at the time, some of you will remember. My wife and I had bag phones in the car. You guys remember what you guys ever seen a bag phone?
Yep. No.
So I had a bag phone, and so I called my wife on the bag phone, which was like really expensive, but I called her, and I said, hey, I think it should be time for lunch, and she goes, yeah, but here's the deal. My grandfather didn't have a bag phone, and so we thought that he had seen us getting off the exit, and so he was going to follow us. But he did not. He was kind of in the zone, and so he was like heading up. And he made the corner at Indianapolis, and he was heading up to Michigan. So we got off the interstate at an exit, and we realized he didn't get off with us. And so I had to get back in a car, and I had to go chasing after him to try and flag him down and try to do hand signals from the car to show him that we were actually off the road. And then I had to go remember what exit we had originally were on. I think I called my wife at that point. Like, listen, we're like 15 miles ahead of you, just get back on the interstate and come back up here. But no Google Maps, no Yahoo Maps, no MapQuest, right? None of that.
No cell phones. You couldn't call him.
Well, you had the phone. But
we two of us had a phone, but he did not have a phone. And so my daughter was like, just call him. You should have just called him. And I'm like, I couldn't. He didn't have a phone. And she was just like, I can't believe somebody would not have a phone, right?
Yeah.
It was just totally. And then of course she didn't know what a bag phone was. She's like,
I don't know what a bag phone is.
I don't either.
Oh really? Oh my
That
God.
that sounds as bad as my son. I was
I know
watching.
it is a bag phone.
Yeah, I was watching.
Early Motorola phone.
Stick a CB radio in a bag with a battery, and then a cell
Basically.
phone with a cord that comes out of the bag that you can stick up to your head and talk on.
I
Like
got
the
one.
Radio Shack cell phone where the battery is like a suitcase?
It
Do
weighed
you want me to bring mine and show you? I'll go get mine.
It
I got
sounds
a
like my
picture of
son.
one.
I was watching the movie Pillow Talk with Rock Hudson and Doris Day, and he was about 11 or 12 at the time. He's 18 now, and they're using a party line, and she keeps picking up the phone, and Doris Day keeps picking up the phone, and Rock Hudson's on the phone, and he's like, well, what's going on? And I explained to him that in cities they didn't have enough phone lines for everyone to have their own, so several people had to share one phone line. And he looks at me and he goes, well, why didn't she use her cell phone?
What an idiot! Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
Right.
I was in a restaurant one time, and they asked me what kind of coffee I wanted. Or I wanted caffeine or decaf. And I said, "Oh, I'll take the leaded." And this was 20 years ago, and that little girl had no idea what I was talking about.
Leaded and unleaded, right? So,
No idea.
There you go.
That's
Steve.
like
A bag phone.
that bag phone.
There you go.
Party lines were also a
There you go,
lot cheaper
Stevie.
to have.
okay, that's like the Radio Shack phone right there.
It's a it's a Radio Shack catalog.
Okay, yeah, that's what you called a bag phone. I didn't know that was a name.
Well,
Yeah, they came in a bag.
Right. With a shoulder strap, so it was portable.
And it had
Ron's got one. Ron's got his bag phone.
Ron has one.
it had a there's the phone. It snapped
Oh,
the
and
thing on.
so the bag was like carrying the battery.
It carried the
And the
battery
transmitter.
and the transmitter,
Oh wow!
right? Because the phone
This is almost
handset
like
just
this was like being in World War II, having to carry that big old bag and everything.
That's right.
Just slightly smaller.
Let's get the general on the horn.
That's right.
And so the Star Trek was much smaller. It only weighed, what, a pound and a half or something? But it had a range from here to my monitor. It really needed the bag phone to.
Yeah, Ron's got it right. You normally would plug it into the cigarette lighter adapter, but then they did sell a battery that you could plug in that brought out 12 volts, and you could play that a cigarette lighter receptacle, and you could plug the two together.
Centel by Motorola.
Yeah,
That's right.
Motorola phone.
And that's a sign of the times too, because you ask somebody today about the cigarette lighter, they're gonna be, "What's that?" You know, and they're not.
I know,
they don't have
right?
cigarette lighters in the car
Oh, it's a
anymore.
PowerPoint. It's a
power.
PowerPoint.
That's a power
That's right.
adapter.
That's right.
Yeah, one day my mother says, I got something for you. I go, oh, good. And so she brings this out, and she goes, do you know what this is? I go, I know exactly what it is. And she goes, yeah, just taking space here, you take it. So I plugged it into the car and charged it for a little while and turned it on, and it turns on.
Yay.
I don't know if
They
it's going to work.
won't work
but
they won't work anymore because the analog. There's no analog channels for cell phones anymore. They're all digital. But
the keypad lights up. Each one of those buttons lights.
Had razor sharp graphics.
I hear that people want to move. It makes me cringe. Back in college, I actually drove a school bus, so I had a CDL. And when everyone graduated college, all my friends would come and talk to me, and they'd say, "Hey, we need someone to drive the truck." And because I knew I had a CDL and I drove a school bus, a 30-foot straight truck wasn't any different than a school bus. So I had all these people asking me, "Hey, can you drive the truck when we move?" So every time I hear people talk about moving, it makes me cringe.
Oh, Terry's on his Motorola brick right now. By the way,
He's
Terry,
on the
Terry, we took a vote. We took a vote. You've been impeached. You're late to the meeting, Mr. Former Vice President.
Thank God. What a relief.
Are you talking to Fletcher by any chance?
Well, where do you think I've been?
But
How you
Steve
doing,
makes a
guys?
good. Steve makes a good point in that. So on Ron's unit that he just showed you, a lot of people would think that the entire phone's in that headset, but it's not. It's actually in the bag. The bag has a big, huge
Most
brick.
of it, the transmitter's in the best. It's the battery and the transmitter. So the phone is really just like the input-output part of it.
Headset,
That's right.
like a regular phone.
It's like the handset on a regular phone.
Yeah,
that's right.
And I know absolutely nothing about changing the ROM to make free phone calls. Nothing.
I didn't show you, but it has an antenna.
That's
Oh,
right.
Look at that. That's important.
The antenna.
But she had no idea what that was. And then when I told her, she said, "Well, then how did you get all together again?" And I'm like, "Well, I had to try and remember what exit we went off of it." She's like, "Well, didn't you just look at?" And I'm like, "What would I have looked at? Right? It's not like you had a phone that you could look and see where you were. You know, I got off at exit 104 and we're right across the street from the Safeway or the you know the Cubbies or whatever there was, right? There was none of that, right? You
Yeah.
couldn't tell anybody that stuff. You were
Well, you
like,
could
well,
get cheaper maps. Any gas station.
And I
has
tell you
cheap-
what, I did better with directions than I did with early MapQuest printouts. Because remember, you used to have to print everything out in advance with MapQuest, and God forbid, like I was doing a job in California, and I had to drive somewhere out to like the Oakland area, and I ended up taking a wrong turn, and I ended up in frickin' Compton, and I was scared for my life because I'm like, dude, I've seen every New Jack City Boys in the Hood movie. Here I am, this white guy in this white rental car, and I'm right in the middle of frickin' Compton. I'm afraid a drive-by is going to happen or something. But I'm looking at west and mountains are to the east, and the whole world is upside down, and I don't know what the hell's going on. And here I am in Compton, afraid for my life. So I was like, where's that Bay Bridge, man? There's no GPS. I didn't know what the hell was going on. So.
Well, here's
I'm
another
confused.
thing.
Are you in my area or are you in LA?
What's that?
Well, Compton's in
Maybe
LA.
I'm confused. Are you up in my area?
I was
you
trying to
in
make
LA?
my way to Oakland, and I was going
Must have
from.
been up in my area then.
Okay,
In
yeah,
San,
this was
San Francisco.
okay. Yeah, I was trying to get
So
If
for
you
those of
print
you,
out MapQuest, if you print it out and you're in a hurry and you take it off the printer and you get in your car and you take off, and you know the first couple of pages are just fine, and then it just fades off because you ran out of ink and you didn't need it.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no.
see now, that's something my daughter wouldn't think of either. If I
No.
walked right out here and I told her, hey, we used to print off our maps in MapQuest, she'd be like, what? Why would you do
Well,
that?
before that, you have to actually take the paper map out and unfold it, and pull over so you could get the whole thing unfolded out to look at
I know.
it.
We keep some of those maps in the vehicle, and when we pull them out, both of us, my son too, he's married, and often he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, listen, I need to know on the map where we are. And he's like, what is that paper thing you're unfolding? And I'm like, it's a map.
Has anyone noticed the modern Google Maps are gray on gray so they won't print?
No, I didn't know that.
You can't print them. It won't come out.
I can tell you one. I can tell you one thing though. For those of you who go to, so obviously Cocoa Fest coming up, and so there'll be a number of you that make the pilgrimage to Chicago. So here's the deal. Here's a word for the wise. So we're all just terribly probably dependent on our smartphone and the Google Maps or whatever the Maps app that is on the iPhone or the Android device or whatever. But I can tell you, you have got to remember how to use a real map, because if you should decide to go to downtown Chicago, you could find yourself on Lower Wacker Drive, right?
Oh, yes.
If you find yourself on Lower Wacker Drive, there are two things that are going to be a problem for you. One is there's
Your
literally
phone.
no GPS on Lower Wacker Drive, right? Lower Wacker
It's
Drive is
underground.
There's
It
no
does.
signal either.
Yeah, there's no signal. So you get no cell phone signal, you get no GPS signal. You are completely cut off. And the other one is, even if it would work, how in the world would you know if you're on the right Wacker Drive? Because in a map, it's all 2D, and you're like, there's supposed to be a store right here, but there's not. There's just nothing right here. And so I refuse, if I can at all avoid it, to get onto any Wacker Drive anywhere in Chicago, because that is just an exercise in futility. And if you're not careful, you'll end up in Indiana before you can get off of that road.
Well, look what happened to the Blues Brothers. They ended up in downtown Milwaukee right off of Lower Wacker Drive.
There you go.
The first Cocoa Fest that we went to, we actually drove from there into downtown Chicago because I'd never been to Chicago before. So I didn't have that problem. I didn't wind up on accidentally drive across the bridge and underground. But the problem I did have was that the GPS signal wasn't really that good. And so my phone was in a slightly different place than I was actually driving. So I had to actually, and some of the streets are one-way streets. I'm like, wait a minute, I was trying to drop the car off because when we got into, downtown Chicago, and I wanted to get rid of the car because I didn't need it. So I had to pull over, let the thing figure out where it was. And I'm like, I was like around the, had to drive around the block once or twice. Like, okay, there's Hertz or whatever. Finally.
When we went to Cocoa Fest it It was Rainbow Fest in '84. My wife and I were on the bridges in Chicago, and we were waiting in line, and the bridge was going up and down. And we're sitting there going up and down like this, and we're looking at each other going, what is going on? And so we're looking at cars next to us, and they're talking, and they don't notice anything, you know. And it's like, well, this bridge is going to collapse any second. It's horrible. But I guess evidently normal.
It is. It is. But it's
God.
it's just so normal that a lot of the down, like the what do they call that? The million, whatever, the $1 million mile, or the whatever it is.
Miracle Mile, I think it's called, is it?
Yeah.
Michigan
Anyway, it's got all the expensive stores on there or whatever. There's two levels to it, right? So all the really fancy, hotels and restaurants and stores are on the top level. But then if you walk down, there's little catwalks you can walk down, and there's like little stores and all kinds of stuff, and the waterfront, for the Chicago River or whatever, it's down below. And so you just have to know. And I mean, it's like a piece of information that I didn't even think I'd ever have to commit to memory, but you have to know that if you want to go to, Saks or whatever, you got to be up on the top floor. And if you want to go to McDonald's, it's down below. Or if you want to go to, Sue's, discount purses or whatever, it's down on the second floor, down underneath. So, and then lower Wacker Drive and upper Wacker Drive they don't all go, like, part of the time. Lower Wacker Drive goes the whole way, and upper Wacker Drive just goes to a person and then it just stops. Can you imagine missing that and be like, woohoo, and you're just like, go right to the edge and just, I don't know what you do. I guess you just like drive right off the end of upper Wacker Drive onto lower Wacker Drive. I hope that's not what you end up doing.
I've noticed that
Wonder how they got that.
The Chicago taxi drivers have replaced their analog brake and gas pedal with digital controls. So it's either fully on or fully off. There's nothing else.
I can believe that.
Union Station to McCormick is a really interesting ride.
It is. Gotta love it. We try not to drive downtown. We try to take, public transportation or something to go downtown, because, man, downtown Chicago driving is, if you don't live in Chicago, I suppose it's same as if you're in LA or if you're in that other metropolitan area, New York City or something. I suppose it's always the same. It's all the same. But man, if you're not
I hate
from
I hate driving in San Francisco. Definitely.
Well, even
When I go
I
to
live in
New York,
Chicago,
like-
and even I don't drive in downtown. Not usually, unless I got to pick something up or drop something off.
Well, and is Jim Mazurik still on? Yeah, he is. He's still on. So Jim lives downtown Chicago. He lives actually in Chicago. Like, I mean, we all talk about Chicago, but nobody actually lives in Chicago. But Jim does. But he says, hey, you can crash at my house. When we were on our way to Toronto or something for a show, and he's like, hey, you can crash at my house. And I'm at 2413B, whatever this road is. And so I go driving. It's late at night when I get there because I'm coming in from Iowa. And so I start out at 6. I think I get there at, 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So it's already dark, and I'm going down in the heart of Chicago. And I drive up to whatever it is, 2413 or whatever the guy's, whatever Jim's address is. And there's a house there. But it's not B. There's a house. And then what I realize is that there's a house, and then there's another house like behind the house. And that's Jim's house, or it was Jim's house. I think maybe you've moved now, right? No, I can't hear you, Jim. I mean, you're not on mute, but I can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I was on mute, just at a different level. There's a when I was living at that apartment or that house, there was a 3-flat apartment building on the front of the property and a small house on the rear of the property.
I mean, I'm sorry, that just blew my mind. I mean, it's like, here's a house and that's a number, but that's not the place you need to go to. And it was a good thing that I called him, I think, from outside the house. I'm like, I think I'm in front of your house, but it doesn't look like anything you described to me. And he's like, yeah, we got to kind of walk around that house or apartment to go to the place behind. And that's where I'm actually living. And I'm thinking, that's just whacked. I mean, I understand that they need to push a lot of housing into Chicago, but I've never been anywhere where you have two buildings that are the same number. And I thought A and B meant, like I have apartment A and you have apartment B, but no, this was A and B houses. And then within there, I suppose you had apartment number. So it's like I'm in 2413B apartment A, right?
Or often, depending upon who's doing the addressing, there's often rear building or something like that. But, postal carriers generally just dumped everything in the open hallway in the front apartment building regardless. They rarely brought anything into the back house.
Oh, yeah. And here, me, obviously being from Iowa, from rural Iowa, so I have a choice of bringing various vehicles to Chicago. Now I have a smart car. I have a little smart car. Everybody knows what a little smart car is. It's about 8.5 feet long, and it's just a tiny little car. On the other extreme, I have a Ford F-350 dually, long bed, 4-door truck. Guess which one I drove to downtown Chicago?
And technically, it's not downtown; it's the inner city, but the northwest side, about halfway between downtown and O'Hare.
That's right. So I'm thinking it's downtown because it's actually got a Chicago address, and he's right. It's actually on the north side. It's not even downtown. So, but anyway, yeah, I'm driving this big F-350, huge. I mean, the roads down there are barely wide enough for a dually truck, like single
Not to mention the parking is horrible in the north side neighborhoods. I think it took probably about 30 minutes to find a spot you could park it in.
Yeah. That was such a stupid idea on my part. And the smart car would have been okay, but no, I had to drive the big dually. I'm like, yeah, he's got plenty of parking. Not.
Should have put the smart car in the bed in the back of the pickup and brought it along.
You can. You absolutely can. I'm just.
Escape pod.
I just think about that now, and I'm like, I mean, Jim and I, we know each other, and we obviously have a shared interest in classic computers, but it's obvious that we live in two completely different worlds because he lives in the north side of Chicago where parking is he's telling me like, well, you'll just have to circle around the block for a while until you find an open spot.
Or you'll have to park on the main street and get up early in the morning and get it off the street or feed the meter.
There you go. Totally foreign to me. I was like, I'd moved into a different country, because here, heck, I got enough for 10 dualies to park right outside the front of my house. And he's like, yeah, I don't have any spots in the front of mine. You're going to have to circle the block.
Yeah, if I go visit a friend downtown,
like sit by the hydrant, offload everything now, and then go find a spot and hike back.
That's right. Eric?
Yeah, if I need to go downtown and visit a friend and I need to drive, I can't park by his apartment. I have to go park in a parking garage and then take the bus to his apartment.
Oh,
and if we're dropping stuff off, I can use the loading unloading zone to do that.
I rarely drive downtown.
Yeah, I hate driving downtown.
I rarely go anywhere these days, but in normal times, I would normally take the CTA train downtown, or if I need to be down in a hurry, then the Metro commuter rail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I need to be down in a hurry, I can just take an Uber. It's like $10, and it takes just as long as driving.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, what's that card above your head on the shelf?
Which one?
The card.
Right there?
Up. The card.
This?
On your shelf. Yeah, what is that?
It's
Rich Bear saying good night. Good to talk with you all.
Good night, Rich.
It's the
Night, Rich.
Good night.
Hey,
CCAD-B from.
You're saying you don't know what it is?
No, I've looked it up. I can tell you what it is. It's like a digital to. I don't remember what it is. It converts analog signals to digital, is what it does.
There you go.
It looks like home built.
No, it was manufactured, but probably in small quantity.
Is it old?
It looks old.
Yeah, it was in the catalogs when the Coco was a thing. It fits in the Coco, of course. It came with software, although I've never been able to find the software that runs this board. But it looks like a pretty simple layout, so I'm sure you could write your own software.
What's the one connector, the blue connector? Is that something you plug wires in? Where the wires go?
Yeah, this is where the analog signals feed in.
Got it.
And then this is, of course, the cartridge port.
Got it. Well,
so it's a digitizer?
Yeah, it's like a digitizer. I guess it can be used to like read analog signals. I don't know what the previous guy used it for. Maybe a flight simulator of some kind, or his CNC machine of some kind.
I'll be right back.
Hey, saying hi to Polly and Bob Swogers here.
Hey, Bob.
And, Mark Overholzer. I saw him here. He's currently got his video turned off.
Tim Lindner's video has been spinning the whole time he's been in the call, so I haven't seen Tim materialize yet.
That's right. There he is. Hi, Mark. Who else was I gonna say that came in?
You actually want to see me?
Yeah. I'm just wondering why we were seeing a spinning videos. I was wondering if you're just buffering in eternal buffer mode, or
he doesn't have the bandwidth to do the video.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of bandwidth. He's kind of in the red category. And Jim
he's
Missouri.
on dial-up.
I thought California's a blue state.
Well, when you steal your internet, this is the kind of thing that happens.
Oh.
Hey, there you go. Now he's got better internet.
You guys want to take a
You need
look
to
at
steal
my
better
screen?
internet, I think is what we're saying.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys can see my screen right now.
Not yet.
Nope.
Sharing
Not
it?
yet.
Let me try that button again here. How's
Okay,
that?
it's carrying.
Yeah, it's a convert your analog world to digital.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Thing.
$190. Came with a disc or
GCCC.
tape. I've never been able to find that software.
Oh, so it's an 8-bit digitizer.
8 input channels though. That's pretty cool.
Driven software.
Whoa. AD8. Technical
Analog
hardware.
to digital 8, huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
So if you guys know where I can find the software, get it uploaded to the archive. I'll get it running.
It's menu driven, so that's a plus.
Yeah.
I think technical hardware, huh?
It says
Interesting.
Fullerton, California.
Down south.
I believe they made this board for other systems too, like the Apple and the Commodore.
It'd be nice to see a picture of it to see what kind of chips are on it. So, I'm
you think it would
surprised.
hook
I'm
a
intrigued
barcode
by.
reader?
Huh?
You think it's a barcode reader or something? Or?
No, it's AD, so it would probably be audio AD.
16 ins by 12 bits. That's quite the thing.
I know, that's the thing. I
You
was
could
just like,
definitely do audio digitizing with it. Yeah.
So I don't know which model you have. The Model B had 12-bit resolution and 16 channels.
I have the Model B.
Okay.
oh,
nice.
okay.
Onboard user amplifiers, 3 TTL alarm lines. Ooh.
Yeah.
TTL, driveway.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's expensive.
$200 board, man.
Yeah, it wasn't cheap.
I saw them gold connectors on there, so yeah.
Yep, gold connectors. This little guy comes off, so I'm guessing you can replace that. It's got a microphone jack on it, so I guess the guy probably did digitize audio. And I'm assuming this is the ground.
That'd be cool.
What's the main chip on it? Is it a 68 something?
No, it's a ICL 7109 APL.
7109. That's a new number.
Hey, whenever you're done, stop sharing because I can't see anybody else now. It's taken over.
Wow, that chip is still made, and it's done by Maxim. So Maxim integrated, like the RS-232 chips, not cheap, $12.56 a piece, but
Hey,
they
so
still sell it.
we found the current value for the card.
That's right. That's right. Let me see what the deal is though. It's 12 bits of resolution is really yeah. 12-bit AD converter, 12-bit binary plus polarity and overrage outputs can be directly interfaced to a microprocessor bus.
Wow.
But I don't. How many channels did it say it had?
16.
16. So I don't see the. It must have some sort of multiplexer because this one only does one. This one only does one channel of conversion. So it must have something else to multiplex.
Didn't I see a big whopping card edge connector on the outside of that?
Yeah.
Like a S100 size connector or something similar?
Wasn't quite that big.
Yeah, there's a lot of,
Well,
well,
it's
so
pretty good
someone's
size.
bodged a little bit in, but there's a whole lot more available on the
What's
edge.
on the end of the wire?
True, but that's true, and I accept that the other channels are there. What I'm saying is the big chip only does one channel of conversion. So somewhere there must be a way to.
Those alligator clips or the mini phone?
I'm sorry, what?
Well, Eric was holding that thing up and want to know if those alligator clips or mini phones on coming out of that board.
Well, it's one alligator clip and a like a stereo jack.
Female.
Scott.
Well,
Yeah,
I interrupted. Go on.
Stereo jack. What's that?
The main.
That I interrupted you, so just go on, keep going, Bill.
Yeah, the main chip only does one channel of conversion. So if it does 16 channels, there must be something else on that board that multiplexes 16 channels of
Well, there
analog.
is this physical switch. Maybe it's just a physical multiplexer of some kind.
Oh, maybe.
Or
It's good.
maybe that's options. I don't know. There's a lot of support chips on there.
Got it.
Cool. Want one.
Well, there you go.
Yours for $12.50.
Oh.
Have you had it a long time?
Oh, about a year, I'd say. I picked it up from a fellow here in Chicago who is selling it along with a Coco 1, I want to say. Might have been a Coco 2.
Cool. Oh, awesome.
How often does anyone take out their 4K Coco 1 and find programs that'll run? And just basic.
I remember when they first came out, I wanted one so
Nobody?
bad, but they cost about $400 at the time.
Wow.
Hey, Bob Swoger. I don't know if you heard before, but we were saying hi when you joined. How you doing? You're muted.
Math Bingo runs in 4K, doesn't it?
Now he's not.
That's all you need. Hey, Tim. Is Tim on video or no?
No, no video.
Okay. At least it's not swirling anymore.
Can't hear you, Bob. You're off mute, but we can't hear you.
Yeah, that's typical of this computer, I guess.
Now we can hear you a little bit now.
Yep, we can hear you a little.
About as good as we did at the meeting.
Nobody else is talking. They can hear me. I had a conflicting situation here where my wife wasn't home. So when being home, I've got to stay in bed. So I've been in bed all day.
Got it.
Got home about 8 o'clock, and I had dinner and joined you then.
Cool. Nice of you to join us.
Yeah, good to see you.
Good seeing you again, Bob.
Sure. Well, thank you all. Thank you all. Good to be here.
So I was feeling pretty reflective when I was going over all the news that happened this year to make that final newsletter. And a lot of stuff happened this year. Maybe part of the reason why a lot of stuff happened is because people had more time at home. I don't know, or maybe it just did. But if you guys had to guess and look into the crystal ball, what are your predictions for next year as far as some breakout or breakthrough hardware or softwares?
Predictions, huh?
You mean will be presented at COVID Fest?
Yeah. What was that, Bob?
I say I'm too old, I guess, because I'm kind of losing interest in or motivation. That's it. I turned 77 this year, and I'm losing motivation. But I got two things I'd like to see out there, and that's Logic Coco, which we brought to the surface back in 2010. And I don't know, I'm just watching over the shoulder what's going on and trying to keep things going straight at Glenside. You guys haven't been around long enough to know the history of Glenside. So Canellis asked the question at the meeting. He says, I wonder how many active members we've got. Nobody'd asked me that before. Active? All I could think of is that they don't use X-Lax. But the truth is our membership is bigger than you'd think in that they're not all Coco users. I'm sitting here, I'm not talking to you on a Coco, but I lost mine in a fire back in 2014. But if you think of people who are members on this thing, let's see. Our president, his daughter is a member of Glenside.
Right.
And that's, yeah. And she's listed as a vendor. She was selling cookies.
That's right.
Mike Rowan's wife is on there. She was selling coffee cups. Linda Pedraza. She's not a Coco user, but she's a member and she sells things. We've kind of lost our monk. We lost our justice. He quit coming. But we still have our monk, but even he has stopped coming.
Oh, our monk. You're talking about
Brother Jeremy?
Brother Jeremy.
Right.
Yeah.
But we still have Jesus. Jesus keeps coming every year.
That's true. I don't know why. I keep leaning in, thinking I'm going to hear you better, Bob. It doesn't work. Like the closer I get my head to the screen, I still can't hear you any better. I'm trying. It's an old habit, but it's just not working.
Well,
Before you,
it's just this computer. I might have to find a better mic for it. For instance,
we talked about that. Right, we talked about that earlier. We were gonna see if we could get a special Coco buy on some headsets with built-in microphones for you, and we had a couple other folks. We're like Charles looked like he might need a pair, and Sloopy needs a pair, and I can't remember who else. We have some folks that left already. We thought maybe we should get everybody a pair since.
Be careful there. I don't know what.
All right, I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag. Okay, everybody, look under your chairs. You get a microphone and you get a headset.
Hey,
it's about time. There. Thanks, Oprah.
The problem with the Toshiba,
I want the Cadillac.
The Toshiba's got non-standard connector sizes, and so I got to be careful that I don't hurt the jacks by sticking the wrong thing in there. Back to you, Mr. President.
It's fine. We're just chit-chatting. We wanted to say hi, though. Wanted to make sure everybody was recognized, getting on. Haven't heard from some. Paulie, haven't heard from. David, I don't know that we've heard from, but nice you guys are joining us.
Was Chris Hawk ever up on this yet?
I'm sorry, what?
Chris Hawk, did he ever make an appearance?
I don't.
Not today that I
recall.
remember.
No, not that I'm gonna remember. No.
Well,
Cool.
I'm predicting we have an in-person Cocoa Fest next year, so I hope that.
I am predicting as well. I am predicting as well. In fact, I mean, I'm highly confident that we'll have one. The only thing I'm a little less than 100% confident on is whether it will happen in late April, but I'm pretty confident that we'll get there. I think the borders will open up. I'm hopeful the borders will open up sometime in late March, and I'm hopeful that the vaccine will get around to everybody in the first quarter and maybe part of the second quarter. So I'm hopeful that there will be no roadblocks to having the show. I'd really hate to not. I'd really prefer not to have to move it. I think it's better for it to be early in the year. I think because I think it will be the first kind of return to normalcy type of thing, right? The earlier in the year that we could do that, I think the better.
My wife and I are pretty sure we got it in January. We were just sitting around tired all the time and running a fever, not feeling anything else, and just running a fever and tired. And it went away.
There's
to the best of my knowledge, we haven't lost anybody yet. Praise the Lord for that.
Yeah, good. Knock on wood on that. So, but I agree with you, Steve. I'm pretty confident that we're going to have a show in 2021, and I hope everybody feels comfortable enough to make it to the show. I will tell you, I know that probably myself and I think Steve and Brian and maybe Curtis might be some of the few folks that know this new venue, but it is a really cool venue. It is the hotel is attached to the venue, and so it's really nice. You don't have to go outside in order to go between the venue and the hotel. And then the other thing that's it's bigger. It's a lot bigger and in size, and there's other rooms that are also pretty big and set up for the conference. I think they're kind of well suited. Jim Mazurek also has been there as well. So I'm really eager. I was kind of disappointed last year, not just that the show was canceled, but it would have been the first year at the new venue, and I think everybody will really enjoy. The Heron Point location was a kind of a homey type, comfy view, and this is a little different. But it's
is there any possible access to an elevator?
It's all there is, but I don't think there's any basement, so you're not going to have the. You're not going to have.
They got better elevators.
Yeah, they do have elevators. And the venue does not require it. The really nice thing about the venue is and we'll have to figure this out when we get closer to the show date, but the conference part of the building is right next to the parking lot, and there's double doors. And so if you have heavy stuff to bring in, if any remembers bringing the Heron Point, you gotta go through the doors, you gotta go all the way to the middle of the building, you gotta take the elevator down, and you gotta go all the way back to essentially to the front of the building in the basement to unload your stuff. This, you can back up right to the double doors, and the double doors will be open, and you can just wheel your stuff right into the convention center. So that is just so much easier than what people are used to. So it's a great venue. I'm really excited about being able to have the show there. Should be lots more room for everybody to kind of, have plenty of room for their exhibits and whatnot. The only downside to I don't know if it's a downside, but it's just a little bit different. It's in Elk Grove Village, and it's kind of an industrial space. So there's not as many. It's not like in Lombard or wherever, where you could just drive down 64 or wherever it was, and you'd get to, Portillo's within a quarter mile, whatever. I think some of those places are probably, 3 or 4 miles away. So you got a little bit further of a drive to get to some food items.
Yeah, but it's right off the airport, isn't it?
It is. It is right. It's right. That's true. So, if you're flying in, then there's an advantage there. There's definitely an advantage there. I drive in, so I didn't think about that, but Food's
But
a
a
little bit.
misplayed Frogger to get across the street.
What'd you
Is
say?
this
Yeah, you don't have. No, you don't have. There. I think there is a Panera or whatever, or used to be a Panera right across the street, but it's not. It's not North 64 like there was at Heron Point. It's not. It's not. You don't have to take your life into your hands trying to get across the street.
I think
Is this where
This
the
place had a restaurant too, right?
there's you could get food there.
It does. You're right. I mean, yeah, I should have brought that up. They have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and they got a bar, and so you can have drinks there and whatnot. So it's nice if you don't have time to go out, then you can get food right there. It's like I said, it's not a horrible thing. It's just if people are expecting to walk right across the street and get to where it was Papa John's or whatever, I don't know that there's fast food that quick. Actually, I take that back. There is a McDonald's just a quarter mile or a half mile away, so it's not that far to get to.
Yeah. There's a Taco Bell down there too. There's also a Portillo's.
Oh, there is.
South
Okay.
South of there about a mile, and there's also a Lou's Pizza, the same place I took Stevie and a couple other people to at the BCF Northwest.
Yeah, Portillo's needs to be in the contract. We cannot have an event that's not too far from a Portillo's.
From Portillo's, that's right.
Wow.
That's right. So
Is this the same venue that VCF Midwest was using?
that's
It
right.
used to
It's
be.
the same. It's same one that they were using prior to the even larger one that they just went to.
Okay. Yeah, I dropped my earphone. Yeah, I haven't been to the newest one,
Okay.
but I was to
So
the
yeah.
one where it's like right in front of the Sunoco.
Yes, that is exactly the one we're going to be at. Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to make it, but nice to know the layout and such.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And this year
I'm-
they had
I'm
the
all-
floor plan already planned out and everything.
Yeah. We're all ready to go. It's just
Yeah,
plug and chug.
I'm all the way in the East Coast, and I can only make it out there for one event. So I'd have to choose between this or VCF Midwest, and because VCF Midwest covers more different systems, I'd more likely go to that one than this one.
Well, we do. So this year, I mean, just as a point to note, so we've got a number of people. I think when doing the kind of unofficial virtual kind of Cocoa Fest type thing this year, there were a lot of people who responded very favorably to that. Now, obviously, we all know some folks who are not real interested in a virtual presentation, but I do think that there's a lot of people who would really enjoy virtually being part of Cocoa Fest. And I know that Terry, I don't know if Terry's still on, but Terry's lined up a couple speakers that would most likely be attending virtually. So I think we're going to have to figure out a way to have a virtual capability at the show. And maybe that means that we have, and I know in years past we've had like an unattended camera that's kind of showed the various meeting hall, and that's fine. But I think we would probably have to kind of move that to the next level so that some of the virtual presentations will be available in real time from folks like Nick Marentes is planning to be a presenter, and he's not going to be coming from Australia, so he'll be presenting from Australia. And I think we should be able to make that presentation just as good as if he was in the room if we set it up right. I know Brian Weasler's got some AV equipment. I know the club has access to some AV equipment, so we should be able to have or come up with an AV presentation that's dynamic enough to really bring those presentations alive and have some way of having the various exhibits be more present virtually in online and whatnot. So people who can't attend in person can still feel, very much connected to the show. Because I think there's probably going to be some people that, for whatever reason, will find it maybe a little difficult to come in 2021, but they absolutely want to be a part of it. And I think since we've all kind of transitioned to this kind of technology, it should not be that difficult for us to allow those folks to kind of be a part of the show, even though they can't physically be present, without it just being an afterthought. So we gotta come up with that as the time gets a little closer. We got to figure that out.
Yeah, between
Just
How about we pre-record the main presentation and then maybe do a live question and answer afterwards.
Well, we can. I mean, we can, but regardless of whether you do the live presentation and live Q&A or a pre-recorded presentation and a live Q&A, you still got to make it. You want, if it's going to be a virtual, capability for some people that's pre-recorded, that you want to make sure that it's dynamic and encompassing for people that are physically present as well as people that are virtually present. So you just got to make sure. The other one is, I'll be honest with you, the pre-recorded presentations are really nice. However, I know some people, myself included, although I'm not planning on presenting anything, but when I have in the past presented, it's sometimes so difficult to get your presentation put together before you actually, it's kind of like you need a deadline. And it turns out that the deadline is the day you do have the presentation. And so it's very difficult to get your presentation put together early and then videotaped or whatnot. So we may have to make some allowances, or else we may have to tell some presenters that we can't accommodate them. And I hate to say no to a presenter that wants to deliver good information just because they either don't feel comfortable videotaping themselves ahead of time or they're just late getting their presentation together.
Or we could have the
Are you going to hire
as a
somebody?
backup.
Okay, first question. I heard Ron's question, but who was else? I think it was Grant. Would you ask?
That was Mark.
Not I.
Mark Bosley.
Mark, sorry, what was your question?
The pre-record could also be a backup in case we have, connection problems for the presenter.
That's true. That's true. Although I'm going to try and find a way. Jim Mazurik usually does a really good job. Him and Eric Kudzen of helping us out, helping shows out with making sure we have plenty of connectivity. So I do need to call the venue and make sure. But I seem to remember that they had a pretty good internet connectivity. It's much better than the one that was at Heron Point. Heron Point used to be because you couldn't get cell phone connectivity down in the basement and all that. So that was always a challenge. This is on the main floor, and if I remember correctly, they have a pretty solid internet connection with a pretty high bandwidth. So we should be good. But yes, you're right. Having pre-recorded it's all good. And if we can get like if Nick can pre-record and then be available for Q&A, that's great.
Because Nick's connection might not be any good one day.
That's true. I mean, it's indeed possible. So we can definitely see about that. It's just a matter of, can he put a presentation together beforehand or not? I don't know. Ron, what was your question? Or
you're going to actually hire somebody to do the video taping?
I don't know if hiring might be too strong of a word. I know there's a bunch of us that have some AV capabilities. I am kind of hoping, I'll be honest, I'm kind of hoping as it gets closer to the event in Chicago, if I remember correctly. Jim, what's his name? He's a PC Junior enthusiast. Is kind of his game, and I'm trying to think what his name is. But he does the AV for the Midwest show, and I was kind of hoping to maybe entice him to come and help us with our AV, because he does a great job of putting it together. Jim Leonard is his name. And he does a really good job of it, and he loves doing it. It's kind of something he does as a passion project. And I was kind of hoping that he would come and help us out with that. I know we've got some, folks like Steve and others that can do that, but I know the problem with having folks come from the community to do it is then they miss out on just enjoying the festivities themselves. So Jim is really nice, but he really has a passion for, he likes all classic computers, but he is really fascinated by the AV capability. And so I'm kind of hoping that I can say, hey, you want to, you've been out of practice for a year. Can you come out and help us with the lightweight AV duties that we have and kind of get yourself prepped for VCF Midwest? Because VCF Midwest is a much bigger deal for him. And so he might just want to do it just to get back into practice before it's time to put on the next VCF Midwest. And if he's able, then I'd love to have him come and do that. I think he does a great job.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I'm going to interrupt just real quick. I just got an invitation from my sister to go eat, so I will be seeing you guys.
Okay.
Have a great Christmas, everyone, and a fantastic New Year, and I will see you guys soon.
Hey, good to see you, Salvador.
Thanks, Salvador.
Bye-bye.
Yep, guys, I'm going to have to break off too. Have a good night,
All right,
Dave.
Chuck, take care.
Yep. Later, Chuck.
Yep.
Hey, David Craker has joined us. Hey, David, good to see you.
Hey guys, good to see you as well.
Welcome. Yeah, we will definitely be doing some live streaming of the event as we always have. So, like when we walk around with our mobile phones and stuff, we'll be streaming. So we'll probably have somebody who can't come to some poor bastard who's stuck at home that can't make it to Cocoa Fest. We'll have them keep the stream open on YouTube, and we'll just keep feeding them from our cell phones throughout the weekend. So we'll be piping footage in all weekend long, as well as we have been doing. So,
well, I will. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, just put a headset on Stevie and just have online control of his body so that people can just move him around.
Yeah, I'll be your meat puppet, your telepresence meat puppet. Just tell me which string you want to pull, and
we'll also need a hell of a mute button if that's the case.
It'll be direct control. You won't have any control over it, Stevie. It'll just move your body.
Just no live streaming, please.
That's right. Save that for you, Grant. And I will warn anybody who comes to Cocoa Fest in person, as we've already said as a disclaimer, David Ladd is a hugger. So,
well, you can put it on David too. You just make sure he can't look down.
I have to wear my cactus suit.
Yeah. So I will say that one of the things that's really nice now that we stream more, especially the presentations, is that sometimes if you can't get in to see the presentation directly, but you kind of want to stay abreast of what's going on, you can fire up your computer at your exhibit table and turn on the presentation from there. So that's really nice. If you you're like, oh, I've got some folks at my table and I don't really want to leave just yet, but there's something cool coming on. And
it might be neat if we could have a big screen up at all times showing what's going on for the presentation.
I agree. And Brian's indicated that he's got some AV equipment. I've got a couple projectors here that used to be the main projectors in the house, and we've moved on to HDTV, and so I've got some 640 by 40 or regular standard definition TV projectors I can bring, and the walls on that particular venue are light, and so we should be able to project directly on the wall.
Okay.
And we can project the presentation, and if somebody's got some audio equipment, we can put it there too.
If I remember, I believe the club did purchase a screen and a projector at the last Cocoa Fest.
True, but I think that is we'll probably have that in the main presentation room for
them to do their PowerPoint or whatever.
Yeah, the main PowerPoint, or if they're doing a presentation virtually, it'll be displaying the presentation virtually on.
So we need another one that does like a viewing station.
Yeah.
A big screen TV will do it. A decent sized TV that has the YouTube app would be all you need.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody keeps trying to share VCC and nothing's coming up, but it's hogging up the screen.
That's right.
Who continuously pulls up VCC here?
Not I.
Me, if you can hear me.
Yeah, well, we don't see it, but it is hijacking the screen. Sorry, Sloopy. I mean, cut you off.
Yeah. No, one thing that I would recommend is that I have seen at like VCF Midwest when I haven't been able to attend, is that a lot of the demonstrations and things that they have, the camera seems to be always towards the back of the room where everything's really small. And when you're recording, although it gives you a good wide view of everything, it makes it difficult to see what is actually going on. And one thing that I may want to suggest is that you have more of a fluid camera position that can go up, and if not zoom, then just go up to so you can have a better view of what's going on.
Right. I'm gonna recommend that I'll try to figure this out in probably in a month or two when we get a little bit further along. But what I'm thinking of is having like a multiple camera setup for for people, because you can do that on a Zoom type of call where you can have just think of it as 3 different people logging in from the same room and have 2 of the two of the audio is turned off, let's say 3 cameras, but 2 of the audio is turned off. So the audio doesn't, you don't have an echo. But then there, normally if you don't set like you can set it to just be like we have here where everybody's just got a little, they've got a little like chiclet for everybody, a little gallery or whatever, gallery view. But I think Zoom gives you a way of clicking on a particular person.
Yeah, where you can, it's called spotlighting the video. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that way, if you have 3 or 4 cameras with different views, then the person who is at home watching it can select, it's kind of like you select whatever camera view you're most interested in. And then, we'll have the feed and we'll have a couple cameras on the person doing the presentation, if they're physically there. And then that way, you've got everything you need in order to view it in the way you want to view it. Because you're right, some people move around and then sometimes they're turned around and typing on the computer, and sometimes they're presenting, and sometimes they're in front of the PowerPoint presentation, and sometimes they're over showing off the hardware itself, whatever, if it's a hardware solution. So it's kind of hard to come up with one view that's going to get everything. But I think if we have a couple of different cameras, then they will give us much more ability to do that. And people could, and even when that's the case, sometimes I know when I've been watching a presentation, the person's talking and they feel like they need to have the camera on the person, but the person's really talking about the hardware, and you kind of want to look at the hardware or the screen or whatever while they're talking. Mm-hmm. But if it's left up to the person, the cameraman, then you're kind of at the whim of whatever the cameraman thinks is the most important thing. But if you have this multiple Zoom call type of scenario, then you can say, you know what, I appreciate that everybody wants to look at, Jim speaking, but right now I want to see what Jim's talking about, which is on the screen. So I'm going to spotlight the other, the other view, right. the video.
So the only problem with that is if you want everybody to be in control of it themselves, then they all need to be on the Zoom call, and there is a limit to it, and you kind of don't want to just have a big public Zoom call where the planet can get on it. So that's a good idea. I think we just need to have that in a controlled fashion, where but yeah, no, that's.
We can always schedule a one-off meeting with Blue Jeans and use the pin like that email was talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, but I don't know that Blue Jeans lets you spotlight. Like I'm trying.
Yeah, I don't think.
I don't think it does.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I can't.
We'll have to figure that out.
Choose one, but yeah, there'll be a way to do. That's a good idea, and I always have to figure out how to implement it.
Yep.
In a flexible but secure way.
Okay. Well, cool. Yeah, I got to step away for a few minutes.
I gotta say before you go, Jim, too. But while we're still here. This has been probably one of the most enjoyable Glenside calls that I've been on, because usually when we're on the meeting, it's all business. It's bylaws and constitutions and all in favor and blah, blah, blah. So this has been more like an actual club meeting than most of the business meetings. So I have enjoyed this. So thank you for doing this.
No problem. And we can, maybe we, I don't want to overdo it, but maybe we have another one closer to Cocoa Fest, maybe one at the end of the first quarter, just to kind of talk through any kind of prep and final things that we want to do as part of the festival, and kind of have a.
Well, we gotta have a Cocoa Fest because it's the only way I've been paying my dues.
Yeah, that's true.
Uh-oh. The club's going to be down $15 if you don't pull this off, Jim.
That's right. Well, I will. I'm going to stay connected because I'm recording, but evidently my daughter needs my help for a Christmas present construction. Right. So I'm going to step away for a few minutes. I'll let you guys chat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As soon as he's gone, we'll talk about him.
That's fine.
Back.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Bob. I could hardly hear you. What was the question?
Did we discuss trophies tonight?
We have not. I don't know that anything's going to be accomplished if we try to, but maybe we could just get a feel for those that were here on the call. This is not putting it to a formal vote, but maybe just a public opinion. At our business meeting, we were talking about doing trophies this year, and then some emails have gone out, and there's been some mixed opinions on whether or not we should have trophies, because is it going to be treated properly? Is it going to be a participation trophy? Is it really beneficial? Is that the best use of the money? So just, this is not an official vote, but going around the room here, how many of you think giving out a trophy for certain categories like hardware and software and and mentors. Do you guys are you guys in favor of doing that? And if you were the recipient of one, would it be of actual real value to you versus being a sympathy gift?
I think that's too much of a question. I'd say just simply how many people here would like to see the trophies instead of not seeing them.
Okay, good point, Bob.
And I, for one, I don't think we need them anymore. So I'd say
okay.
No.
Well, I don't know that this is an official vote because it's not an official club meeting. But for those who didn't hear, Bob, let's have a simple question: who's in favor of seeing trophies this year versus not seeing trophies? So, if you want to see a trophy, raise your hand or say yes or aye. Okay, we got John Mark. We have Eric Canales. Okay, again, this is not an official vote, but yeah, handful of people. We have Mark Bosley kind of waving his hand in the air, like,
It's kind of so-so.
Yeah, so it seems kind of lukewarm.
You know what I'd like to see is more of instead of one for a dozen categories, how about just one or two for people who've made a real contribution, like a massive contribution to the cocoa? I think that'd be cool.
Like best of show?
Best of show or
I'd like to state
coolest
some history,
invention.
Steve, if I can have the floor again.
All right, Bob, you're gonna have to try to speak up, and I'll try to repeat for you too when you're done.
Yeah, I don't happen to know where the darn microphone is on this Toshiba, but
okay.
What the history says it was this way. If some of you guys who've been around for a long time remember when we used to have a giveaway at the door. We used to have something for everybody.
Yeah.
We had screwdrivers, pens with clocks in them.
Yeah.
We had a thumb drive with Logicall inside it, so you could take Logicall home. All these kind of these giveaways.
Yeah.
And they were mainly coming from my wife, who worked for an outfit that sold these things and would engrave Glenside's name on it.
Okay.
When she quit that job, we wondered what to do because we couldn't find something for a decent price to give away at the fest. So we went to the trophy thing. We figured 7 trophies would cover more than 10% of the people showing up. But time has gone on, and I think we've worn the trophy thin, and we should go on to something else or even back to what we had before if we could find those deals again.
Yeah, well, those deals can be those deals can be done online for sure in the modern age. And for those who didn't hear Bob Swoger because of his volume, I'll just try to quickly summarize. He was saying there was a time when everybody got kind of like a tchotchke, kind of like when you go to a trade show or a convention, you get something. So it could be keychains or pens or whatever. So like a door prize type thing or a giveaway, right? So that was how things used to be. Then it went to trophies, and now it's sounding like we might need to go back to that. I think there could be a combination of both. And again, we're just talking out loud here. This isn't a meeting. This isn't a vote. But I like the idea of recognizing people. For me, I've only been coming to Cocoa Fest for about 4 or 5 years, but the trophies have been somewhat of a tradition in the short time that I've been there. People have mentioned that it could be trivialized or could feel like a participation trophy. I don't know. So I think some form of recognition is probably in order. If it's not a trophy, a certificate of appreciation or something, but something tangible, an attaboy that is well earned and well deserved and not just, a sympathy gift. I think that would be nice. Somebody wake up Ron. He's dozing off. Hey, Ron, you okay?
I think the same thing. And, there are going to be people who don't want gifts. They don't like trophies. They don't like being recognized. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with not liking that. But there are people who would appreciate it or maybe do stuff for the recognition. I don't know. But, I don't think it's a bad thing to recognize someone for doing something.
No, I don't.
A bag of 20s speaks pretty loud.
A bag of 20s, yeah, gift cards, right?
Yeah, gift cards. And I think we should do both. I think we can have all kinds of pens and flash drives and stuff, and we can also do
swag.
Swag.
Yeah. I do like the swag idea too because we're getting a lot more influx of new people into the community now for the first time in years. This last year or two. And it would be nice an introduction for them if they come out to the festival the first time that they get some stuff they get to take back to use in their cocos.
Right.
Yeah, I'd like to see maybe some cocoa stickers and pens.
Refrigerator magnets or something.
Refrigerator magnets.
You can give them 2 refrigerator max, put a bunch of floppies in between them, and hang them up.
There you go.
Well, yeah, we have. You can use the refrigerator magnet to hold your floppy to the fridge, so it's there for you when you need it later, right? So, SD cards. That's a great call there, Mark Bosley, because we were just talking about that. You can get like a 64 megabyte SD card for 99 cents. So we get a couple hundred SD cards, and we get labels printed up with the Cocoa Fest logo and the year, and we can put some content on there. We can put the artwork and the logos and the flyers and things like that. And so it can be packed SD cards.
Yeah, any free software releases that came out that year?
Disk images that could go on there for your Cocoa SDC.
A 6809 keychain.
Yeah. Well, they were talking about doing that one year, having like that little 6809 badge where it was like an LED powered badge. So your little lanyard thing was actually a computer chip with a screen on it. We were talking about doing that one year, but the cost started to get up a little bit. But I mean, that'd be kind of cool. Who knows, right? So I think these are good things to have, and this is a good opportunity right now since we do have some people on the call and we have a few people watching. That if you guys don't come to the meetings on Thursday, you really should. Obviously, you need to be a member of Glenside, and that's easy enough to do. You can go to tandylist.com. You can pay your annual fee of $15, and boom, you're a member. And then you can vote on these things or suggest these things, right? So you don't have to be the president of Glenside to make a change, right? All you do is come to the meeting and propose something and get people to vote on it, and boom, right? So these discussions probably need to take place more often. What's that, Bob? Sorry.
I got to remind you, all you need to be a member is your name in the database and your email address, not the money. The money makes you a paid member so you can vote. But you're a member, at least. We know your name. We'll email you. So back to you.
Right. So a paid member is for voting. So if you want to be able to put forth a motion and vote on things, you have to be a paid member of Glenside. But yeah, we do try to get more people to come to the meetings. We are getting more here, but yeah, so this is not really a meeting. This is definitely a gathering. But if you guys are interested in contributing and helping shape Cocoa Fest, the best way to do that is to come to the meetings and let your voice be heard.
Come to the meetings, but also provide support. We have so many projects we're working on, and we don't have enough people to do it. So
yeah, like if you want to join a committee. You want to join a committee and be behind the scenes, be a volunteer to help out with some stuff, we could definitely use some resources that way too.
There's been talk about maybe running a BBS. If you're a BBS operator, come talk to us.
Well, if you're needing people to help, this is the time I have to leave. So
yeah.
My mom just called. She messed up her TV. I got to go over there, put her TV back on, so I won't be able to sleep any longer. Sorry, guys.
And I have dinner coming up since it's that time. So.
Good to see you, Ron. Or did we already lose him?
Yeah, Ron left. I'm gonna go off for dinner, and if you guys are still here, I'll come back.
Yeah.
Hey, later,
so,
Mikey.
Later.
Yeah, I'm some of the opinions where we don't want the trophies to be just arbitrary, and you don't want it to be a participation trophy. So it's a slippery slope, right? Because you're gonna run the risk of offending somebody. Why didn't you nominate me, or why didn't I win? You're gonna run the risk of embarrassing somebody who didn't want to be recognized. You then need to balance that with, if you're going to be giving out a physical trophy, well, it should be given to people who are attending. So there might be somebody who deserves, the sexiest legs in the community, but if they're not coming to the event, then why make the trophy for them? So then you want to kind of, have that parameter filtered down to who are attending that I can actually physically hand it over to. So you're not going to make everybody happy, but I don't think it's a bad idea to recognize people. And as long as it's not trivialized, right? There was the one year that was being referenced. One year there was a handful of trophies. It wasn't managed completely well, and they were literally like, okay, who do we give this to? Do I give it to you? Because I remember I ended up getting one, and So like it was during the auction. This was probably like maybe 2018 or 2017, and they weren't quite sure what to do with the trophy. So it kind of became a little bit of let's just give this trophy to Bob because Bob's a good guy, right? So that happened once, and I think that one incident is what's being brought up. Like, we don't want to see this being a mockery of something. But I think there were times where it was done well. And they were well earned and well deserved. And for me, like again, my experience is much more compressed and much more recent, but the trophies have been a little bit of a tradition for me, so I would not want to see them go away.
Stevie, I wish this were being recorded that our president could hear it.
It is being recorded.
A lot of wisdom you let go just then.
Okay, well, it is being recorded. Jim is recording the call.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah, and I'm recording it and I'm streaming it too, so the whole world is seeing this. Not the whole world, but 17 people in the world besides us are seeing this. So,
okay, well, I'm glad we brought this up.
Yeah, no, that's good, Bob. I am in favor of open bar at Cocoa Fest this year. Open bar, all you can drink.
Oh, I don't want to see David Ladd drunk.
14K is going to just disappear right away, isn't it?
Yeah, Rick and I remember what happens when we did that last time.
Okay.
We did it.
Bar or buffet?
Open buffet would be kind of good too.
I thought they'd let us drink only after hours.
Yeah, whatever. Pretty messy after all that.
Stevie, you gotta remember when picking these dates that we are competing with weddings, and that's why we have a little trouble there around April, May, and June.
Or is that wedding season?
Yep, that's it.
Is there like a legal limit on how the age and weight of whatever you bag during wedding season?
I don't think I got all that.
Was this a joke on hunting season? Like you can't hunt something over a certain size or weight, so.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I say we just get somebody to volunteer to marry their Coco, and then we'll just get in right away.
All right.
Well, we lost Elgin to weddings. The price shot way up when they were fighting for weddings.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember.
The cost quadrupled.
I like the idea of the kind of swag, the event swag, so something inexpensive that everybody can get. We had talked about this before too, where kind of like a card that could get checked off, like if you went around to everybody's table and saw their event and they checked you off and you made the booth tour, that the people who visited everybody, they would have a full card. And maybe you put that in and you do some drawings there for door prizes. That would be kind of a cool thing to do too. And that encourages people to view all the exhibits at the event. Not that you might not anyways, but it gives you an incentive to do it at that point. It's free stuff is a great giveaway, is a great motivation, for people. So so that's something to think about. Kind of random raffles, and that'd be just like if you attend, then your name is in the hat, and then throughout the event all weekend, you just randomly pull somebody's name out of the hat, and at 1 o'clock on the hour, we're going to pick a name and we're going to give away a prize, right? And you can have people.
Yeah, Rainbow used to do that all the time.
Yeah, I think they did that at one of the Tandy assemblies that I was at. That they, just random door prizes, and it doesn't even have to be. It would be great if it was a multi-pack or a CM8, but it could just be like an eBay gift card or an Amazon gift card. It doesn't have to be specifically retro, but just something to give away to the attendees. Okay, so Mikey's saying he thinks that door prizes and raffles are a far better idea than trophies, and that's like everybody's, pipe in and let your voice be heard. I'm only one voice, but I'll just echo that I think some form of recognition is nice. It doesn't have to be a trophy, but that's my voice. But the majority of the voices will be what the rule will be.
Yeah, my one thought, I guess, a little bit negative on the recognition thing is because we all know who the main pushers, movers, and shakers of the community are, and I think you're going to get into a bit of a rut where it's going to be the same people getting the trophy every year.
Okay, so what
and
if
then
you,
that
what
kind of
if,
loses it for the new people. So giving out, free gifts for the, everybody, or random drawings, like you're saying, I think is a little bit more to spread the community and spread the love amongst the
okay,
community.
right. Well, what if you pick categories that weren't guaranteed winners where, listen, there's only really one or two or three podcasts, so why do you want to pick who's the best, right?
Yeah.
There's only like a handful of vendors, so you don't have to pick who's the best vendor, but you pick something
Yeah, and
like
a handful
the
of game developers,
right,
there's
right.
only
So,
one.
but like, what's the most interesting new product of 2020, or maybe have like some rising stars and up and comers who were the most influential,
Promising new talent or something, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So ways to recognize people who aren't automatic things. But yeah, no, that's an interesting way to look at it.
You know what might be cool is if we take nominations from the public and then decide, who we want to give the prize award to.
Well, that's what I had said I would volunteer to do, is that if you guys wanted to do trophies, if you at least pick the categories of the trophies, then I would take care of doing some polls and getting people to submit names for these different categories. And that way it's been a crowdsourced thing where it's not just an elitist group of arrogant, slave owners that make all these decisions. It's the people get to decide who they want to vote for. So there's different ways to do it.
You're steering into a committee rather than the inner circle, and that's good.
Yeah. So a lot of different ways to do it. But yeah, I mean, I think the more we're talking out loud here, the random drawings and door prizes should be a given, and then we can still maybe get into the minutia of some form of recognition.
Yeah, because I mean, the whole purpose, I think, of doing these types of things is to try to expand the community, encourage people to come to the fest, right? Like,
yeah,
if you're kind of seesawing, do I want to spend the money to go to Chicago? But you go, you know what, I can win a Mega Mini MPI or something like that as a door prize. Well, then, I might, take the extra thought to go, maybe I should go. I could get that. But if you're doing stuff that is based on, like programming skill or hardware design skill, that's such a narrow field of people that are going to be. It's going to be the same two or three always contending.
Too. Yeah, it's subjective too. Yeah, if there was a category of the most influential MC10 software person, I mean, it might just call that the Jim Gary category, right? So, man, that's a really specific award, right? Wow, that's.
And if you did like best game developer, it's going to be like Chet, Jim, and Nick, basically, every time. So that's the one worry I have.
Right, so maybe it's not best game, but most interesting, or I hear it. You don't want to alienate people, but it's a slippery slope to do. Without trying to alienate somebody, it would be nice to recognize things too. So even if it's not a trophy, maybe I don't know. All right.
Yeah, I mean, that's one tough part, I guess.
First time publishing a game.
Well, just listen.
The new talent thing I do like. Somebody that has
new
not
talent, rising
before.
Stars, or
that makes sense.
Really,
like
what we should be basing this on is what do the adult video awards, the porn conventions, what do they do? What are their categories? We should just mirror that. So
we're gonna have a category best use of a VHS tape, or what are we talking about here? Best dirty animated GIF. I don't know what you're getting at here, Steve.
Oh, I could tell stories.
That's coming from Bob. My curiosity has been.
Yeah, Bob, you were one of the last people expecting to hear this from, so now I'm interested.
Well, I did get a good one at Motorola. I still pull it out and show people from time to time. I got a plaque for being the first known emergency communication at 900 megahertz. And the bottom line is, it's because I ran out of gas with the company president and the chief engineer at the FCC in my boat. So, but
Mayday.
yeah, it was the guy that dreamt it up was the FCC guy. Had the thing made up at the National Bureau of Engraving, so I'm really proud of this thing. But he did it knowing that had he not done it, I wouldn't have been working there the following Monday.
Wow.
Yeah, so he pulled my butt out of the mud. So that's one I'm not going to forget.
Cool.
Don't know. The trophy thing was meant to be a surprise.
Okay.
And that's why it was coming off in the beginning, because it was
Okay.
a surprise.
Okay. That's valid too. Well, there you have it. Yep. The door prizes and raffles seem like most people are in favor of that, so we'll try to maybe work that angle.
Yeah, because door prizes can be the smaller, cheaper things that you can afford to give to everybody that attends as part of their admission fee. And then the door prize would be the bigger prize, like a hardware vendor, software vendor gives out something that's going to cost $30 to $100 or whatever they decide, kind of as a promotion for their product as well, because of course you'll be announcing it to everybody that this is what you're giving away.
Well, I appreciated the 16 gig key-shaped fobs being given out.
Right.
Well,
your program was on one of them.
Whose program?
Bob Foger's.
Oh, okay.
What was that?
Said your program was on one of those key-shaped fobs.
Oh yeah, the when we gave out the thumb drives, the Logical stuff was all on there, manuals and everything.
Something else that might be interesting is, I mentioned this like when we were trying to plan for Cocoa Fest this year, and we were sitting here going around in circles. Who are we going to have for a speaker, and what are we going to do about this, and what are we going to do about that? I had kind of made the suggestion that it almost would be good because none of us are professional event planners, but there are people who are professional event planners. It almost might make sense to spend some of the club's money to hire an actual event planner to help figure some of this stuff out, because this year, if it wasn't for COVID, this should have been a really big year for Cocoa Fest. It was the 40th anniversary of the Cocoa. It was the 29th annual last Cocoa Fest, and we should have been thinking about cakes and this and that and the other, and none of that stuff was thought about or talked about. And not only should we're so busy worrying about the event and the tables and stuff, but we really should have been worried about too. This year should have been a really big year for Cocoa Fest and for the Cocoa. And I don't think a lot of talk or thought went into the wow factor that I would have personally liked to have seen at Cocoa Fest this year had it happened. And I don't know that it's a terrible idea to get some professional help in there, because that's not what we do. We're just a bunch of old guys who like old machines. We're not professional planners, So that might be something worth talking about at a meeting to get some help in that direction and look at that.
I think part of the problem, and I was president last year, if anybody's not aware, the part of the problem I had with trying to get wow things to happen was the money. We do have money, but many of our members don't want to spend a lot of money for one Cocoa Fest. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. An event planner is a few $1,000s, not cheap.
Okay, so that part I didn't know.
A lot of people didn't want to spend money for speakers to fly them in, or if they did want to spend money, it wasn't very much. So it goes on and on like that. So we had to balance between what we usually do, kind of a few new things, and so I thought we had a pretty good show plan, and then COVID hit, so we basically couldn't do anything.
Yeah, well, if it gets to the point where we know what the date is, I don't know, maybe a little bit more thought into some of the window dressing for the event should be discussed in some of the meetings too. A little bit more icing.
I think there's more like will to do that, so I think I'm definitely for it. I'd push for it, and
yeah,
I think the bigger the show, the better.
Yeah,
there's only 3 or 4 meetings left before the event.
Yeah, I don't think it's realistic that we're going to have one in April. I think it's going to have to get bumped. It would be nice, but I think it's very wishful thinking. Even with the vaccines coming out nowadays, I'm not being pessimistic. I'm being realistic. I think it's going to have to get bumped, but fingers crossed.
Even if it's not bumped, I wouldn't expect this show to be the big one. I would say the next show will be the big one, because this show, it is so risky. We can't afford to invest in ordering cakes and
those cakes are really expensive.
Well, we actually were going to bring
I'm messing
cake.
with you. Yeah.
We actually were going to bring a cake to the last show. That was on the budget. But
Especially the one David Ladd was going to jump
Yeah,
out of.
yeah, the David Ladd cake.
That's why I wouldn't have gone anyway.
What did work for us years ago was Brian Goer's sister made cupcakes, and they were
Yeah.
very good. That was
Yeah.
great.
Honestly, a good thing to look at would be is if anybody's seen those videos from PenFest 2000 when it was like the 20th anniversary of the Cocoa. That event was went very well with cakes and with people and everything else, So if we did something as good as that with the cakes and stuff, I think that would be good. But just a nice big sheet cake that's got a picture of a cocoa and it says the 40th anniversary of the cocoa. Somebody local is going to have to do that. But I know, COVID got in the way, so I don't think the discussion's made it that far. But, I know that's a really trivial thing and a petty thing to do, but I think a nice, really well done 40th happy birthday cocoa cake would be a nice thing to have,
As long as the right cocoa was on the cake.
Yeah, what's that, Richard? You're muted again, Rich. Rich Chrislip, you're muted.
The right cocoa was on the cake.
Which one? Would that be the silver cocoa, since that's the one that's actually 40 years old?
No, I think we need to tell the cake artist which type of cocoa we're talking about.
Yeah, not the cocoa
not the
from
Disney one, or
right. You have to give them a picture.
Right.
Yeah. Rich, I think you were talking, but you got quiet on us. Rich Chrislip.
Well, I was just saying at the PenFest 2000, the last one they had was my first cocoa event.
Ah.
That's what started me coming to the Cocoa Fest in Chicago.
Yeah, that was Ron Bull and Nick Marentes that planned that one.
Yeah.
And
they had special guests. They had Jeremy Spiller come, Mark Hawkins from Microware came down, Stockmaster.
Stockmaster, I met him there too.
Yeah, they planned that one a year in advance, so.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. I'm hoping we have one in 2021.
Hey.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So I have to say, the virtual one we pulled off this year, which was kind of a last minute thing when we finally figured out for sure that we can't do it in person. Actually, I think it went really well. And looking at your views on the YouTube video of it, I think you're almost at 1,000 views or pretty close to that at this point.
Yeah, because I had to look it up again to get the link to put in the newsletter, and I started watching it from the beginning. And I'm like, wow, man, this was pretty damn good. I mean, I was there, and I know you're just kind of going through it at the time, but I started watching. Wow, man, we got a national anthem in here. We got this. I was like, man, this is a pretty darn good show, man. I wish all our shows could be that good. So it really was, yeah. I mean, it was. It came together and with not a lot of notice, and I remember that went from me being really concerned about having anybody to being, oh my God, we got a lot of people, now we have to worry about how much time we're going to give each person. So it went from me being really from panic mode to almost like, okay, now we have to time manage this event, and but somehow it kind of worked out, and it worked out pretty well. So it was pretty good. So yeah, it was a highlight. I think one of the highlights of the year.
The technology and the talent, there is no reason why this can't come off. Really, I mean, this thing right here is just really cool.
Yeah. Despite a few little echoes and sound glitches, it gets its way through. I think one of the things that maybe it was you, Bob Swoger, had mentioned, or to me this year, the virtual Cocoa Fest, it served the purpose because we weren't going to be able to have one any other way. So it served its purpose. But let's say, a year from now, 2 years from now, from whatever the next normal is going to be, and we're back to doing the normal Cocoa Fest, I don't think that we would ever want to have a virtual replacement, but I think a virtual augmentation would be good because one of the things that people mentioned on this virtual one is they got to see every presentation. And one of the problems you have when you're at the real Cocoa Fest is you always have to make a Sophie's choice. Do I hang out in here and socialize? Do I listen to somebody speak? Do I see this presentation? Do I see that? You always have to choose one and not the other, where I think a good compromise would be for if we already knew what the lineup was of our speakers and vendors, that everybody could pre-record, a minute to a 2 to 3 minute kind of teaser thing that says, hey, I'm Bob from Bob's Computing, and this year at Cocoa Fest I'm going to be demonstrating the cog widget 123 model, and you kind of give a real quick thing of what you're going to do, and then everybody could see the whole reel of that. Oh, here's all the people speaking, here's all the people exhibiting, here's the products that are going to be on the table. I need to make sure I go see Bob's widget because I think that's interesting. So if we put a little kind of like almost like a movie trailer that we record, a teaser, and then air that like the week before Cocoa Fest, people will know what to expect and what they want to focus on while they're there. So that might be a good way to use the virtual thing to kind of augment the experience and let people know ahead of time what to do in person.
A little twist on that.
You have been taking video of the prior Cocoa Fest as well as this.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, hold on, Rich. Bob was talking, but he's hard to hear. Well, I'm sorry, Bob. What were we saying?
Yeah, I was going to augment Steve's comments there. What we discovered when you did that is that we had always had a problem with, all those little shows going on, all these different speakers, that the vendors didn't have time to sell their stuff because they were sitting in empty rooms while these were going on. And what you showed us was here we can hear all the speakers, and it's separate from the show. And so if you were to do your thing, say a week ahead of time, our speakers could be on your show, and the vendors would have all those people all the time by their tables.
Yeah, but that's not going to work for everybody because people like to be there in person at the presentations. There is something about that experience of being in the moment and hearing it and being able to ask your questions. So there's got to be, so that's not a bad idea, but that would work for some, but not for all. For some people, the draw is I want to hear somebody like Greg Zumwalt speak in person and be in the room and, be able to breathe the same air. So, so I think we got to find that happy medium,
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I agree with you. It would be nice, but it's not a replacement, and it kind of, I think it takes away the value of it. If somebody says, well, we're going to get, we've resurrected Charles Tandy, and he's going to speak for the first time since he's been dead for 40 years, but it's on YouTube. Why am I going to come to Cocoa Fest? But if I have to go to Cocoa Fest to hear Charles Tandy, then that kind of draws the people in too. So it's all, a lot of that stuff you got to think about. You're never going to make everybody happy. At the end of the day, it's
there could be a happy balance, however.
Yeah. So I think some type of hybrid is probably going to work out. Yeah. I'm sorry, Rich. What were you going to say? Rich Chrislip, you were starting to say something when Bob was talking.
I was just basically adding color that with your talent and all the previous videos has been shot. You was talking about doing trailers.
Yeah.
Just grab snippets of that stuff. You've got records of it. And you can put something together, put it up there on YouTube or put it up there on Facebook to entice people to come. Let them know that, hey, the color computer's still around after 40 years.
Yeah.
But I agree with what Bob Schroeder is saying because dominate with Zoom, vendors came to sell stuff.
Yeah.
We cannot isolate them or they're going to quit coming. And there goes the fest.
Yeah, it's hard. It's always been a challenge, right? You got to pick. That's one of my things is like when I was my first two, I was trying to enjoy the event, and then I was also sometimes trying to stream. Like my first event, I don't remember how I streamed the first one, but I remember there was one year that I had like laptops set up all the time, and I had to like be monitoring the laptop and what was streaming and what was going on. And I felt like I was more like a broadcast engineer than I was an attendee at an event. So it was like
you were a roadie at that point.
I was a slave to the job, and so it's all there's a lot of things you have to balance there. But I think we definitely have there was a time where I thought I needed to have a laptop, and I remember at one of the Tandy assemblies, I had multiple cameras. I was running freaking gaffing tape across the floor. I had microphones up by the stage. I had a camera on the speaker that was zoomed in. I had another camera on the audience. I had picture-in-picture where you could see all the stuff. I had this whole elaborate setup, and that was, 4 years ago. Now we can walk around off our freaking phones and do the same thing and actually have better picture and better sound now now you can have, so we're doing that now. We're like the last year at one of the VCFs, we saw the guys in California doing it, and they were doing it from their phone, and we saw the event, and it was awesome because the guy's just walking around, and I'm like, hey, stop, talk to that guy with the funny hat. I want to see what he has to say, And so we've had that happen from the Tandy's assemblies and stuff too. So I think we can still bring that to the show. It's obviously some of it needs to be coordinated and stuff, but I think we'll find that decent compromise,
Well, one thing I was thinking about for a compromise, and it'll depend on how many speakers you have and how many vendors you have, is that maybe we stagger them a little bit. So maybe the show floor opens, vendors start going at, say, 9, but the speakers don't start till 11, and then maybe go a little bit past when the show floor closes and goes for another couple hours. That way you have a couple of hours free.
Yeah. Instead of it being back to back or every other hour.
Instead of lockstepping them so that, the shows and the vendors and the presentation start at the exact same time and they end at the same time, because then you're always going to have that conflict. But if you stagger them, even just a couple hours, there's a couple hours free in either end for just seeing presentations or just seeing.
Yeah.
So that might help.
That gets into the scheduling part, and that should be, once we have the speakers locked down, that should be easy enough to do.
A post-show would be nice as well, so if I can't make this talk, well, I'll watch it on Coco Talk next week.
Yeah, we always do that. We usually have the pre-show, the pre-event show, the during, and then the after. The after show.
Sweet.
So,
yeah, and we try to put up the presentations, after like a week after, once everything's settled down, so that people that couldn't make the show at least get to see the presentation.
And then last year, Brian Schubring at his table, because he was kind of in the corner, he had a camera up high that was just pointed out over the whole exhibit thing. So we were kind of streaming the whole room the whole time. So people could kind of see people walking around, and then you might get somebody in the chat saying, hey, what is that person doing? And then we'd go over and find out and stuff. So as we get closer to it, we can start to coordinate some of the audio visual pieces, but we've got a lot more things to worry about now, like just what's the event going to be? When's the event going to be?
When's the big one?
We got a lot of great pictures of butts.
Yeah, good pictures of the back of David Ladd's head. I remember that. So that's always good. So good times. Yeah, this was fun, man. Listen to you guys wax.
Well, it's about time for me to call tonight. So,
all right, Rich.
Guys.
Good to see you, man.
Good, sir.
Yeah, good seeing you, Rich.
Yeah, me too. I got to go to work tomorrow.
You freaking losers. You people with your jobs. Yeah, we had a lot of people come out of the woodworks tonight that we hadn't seen in a while. I hadn't seen John Strong in a while. And
well, to be honest, having this meeting on the weekend really helped me, because during the week sometimes I'm just too busy to make the Thursday meetings. I've tried a few times, and it just something happens and I can't. So I don't know if there's any thoughts of maybe having the meetings themselves on weekends. Does that work better for some people? And maybe you will get better attendance. I don't know.
You mean like the real Glenside meetings?
Yeah.
Well, was Terry here? No,
well, he was here briefly, but
yeah. Well, we have our president here. We do have some members. Bob is here. John Mark is here. I don't know. This is just a question. This is not an official thing. But what do you guys think? Ever moving Glenside meetings to a weekend would work for the club or not? Or is that just way too?
Or do people want their weekends for personal reasons and don't want to inflict a meeting on it?
I'm not sure. We've been doing Thursday nights many years.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've ever tried. I know they've like said, well, we're gonna have a picnic and a meeting.
Yeah.
And things like that, but the picnic meetings we never really decided much at a picnic meeting.
Yeah, and you guys have had Glenside meetings at the fest before on weekends too, obviously. So.
Oh yeah.
I'm just wondering, would the attendance improve? Like, if it doesn't, then there's no point. But would it improve attendance if you, or maybe alternate them? Maybe do like once a month you do it on a weekday, and then once a month you do it on a weekend or something, so that you can kind of spread out who can attend. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some value in having things scheduled and predictable and plannable. But I'm thinking that maybe as we get closer to, if there's going to be a real Cocoa Fest, we might have more kind of town halls like this to, kind of crowdsource ideas and feedback and stuff. That'd probably be worth doing, where it doesn't have to be an official meeting, but it could be a gathering of the minds and get some input that we could then bring to the next meeting and make some hard decisions on.
Yeah.
That's
I
probably
I
good.
realized I was being selfish here because I'm the one who can't make the Thursday meetings that often every time I seem to try. But I just thought it might be interesting throwing it out there. That's an issue that other people that would normally like to attend but just never can make it.
Yeah. Yeah, that might be a tall order, but who knows? We can bring it up.
I mean, I'll still try. I have made a couple of them, not recently, but I have made them on occasion. So
Far out. Yeah.
You had something going on there, Stevie.
Yeah.
Your point
Daughters.
is well taken, Curtis. I guess we haven't been thinking about it because nobody's ever mentioned it before. They couldn't make it the night where we would have heard it.
Well, before too, because part of it was, for the most part, you guys were meeting in person. It was like a real club with real people meeting and for real. And then you would meet and you'd hang out, and then you guys go all have dinner after the meeting. So there was a certain amount of tradition kind of baked into that too. So what I'd like to see happen at these meetings at some point in time, because the meeting, listen, it is called the Glenside Business Meeting, but if this is a club, I went to a lot of club meetings, and very rarely did I go to a club meeting and we talked about all in favor, say aye. You know what I mean? The club meetings were, hey, I got this cool thing, I got this new X-Pad, let me show you what it does, and things like that. I would love to the point where there's some type of meetings where we're actually talking about what the club's about, is the cocoa. Hey, what did you guys do with your cocoa this month? Here's what I did.
The question and answer sessions we used to have at club meetings too. Where I'm trying to figure out how to do this, and I can't figure it out, and then you get the club to kind of pull together and help solve it.
I guess it's hard to balance business and pleasure, and the business needs to be done. But it seems like all the Glenside meetings I've been to have been all business, and they're not always fun when you just have to make all these decisions, do all this adult level stuff. It'd be nice if you could somehow manage to squeeze some fun and actual cocoa type stuff into these meetings,
Yeah, which this one has had some of that already too. So I mean that's kind of
the way it started. But the fest when we started going worldwide, instead of just being a local club, it's like the fest took over all our time.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the time at the ending to give a show, but we initially always had, or pretty much always had, a show at the end of the meeting after it adjourned.
Okay, like you'd have a meeting and then somebody would show off a new game or a new software or something.
Exactly.
Yeah? Okay.
That's how the IDE board came about.
Huh.
Somebody brought that up, and all of a sudden we were doing that.
Cool.
That's not a bad idea. Like have a meeting that's divided into two sections. One, you can get the business done because obviously you still have to get it done, especially planning for fests, etc. But then have an actual like a users group style meeting where you're just trading ideas.
Like this here. Like maybe you have your normal business meetings on your monthly Thursday, but maybe you have a monthly town hall where you're just talking about cocoa or talking about barbecue or talking about traffic in Wisconsin or whatever hell you guys were talking about.
Rick Elan's beard, whatever the subject happens to be.
So I mean, this was fun tonight, just listening to everybody.
A more casual meeting, though, just to kind of offset the business side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
But like Bob said, we used to do that in our club here, too, and we had 80, 90 members at one point, and we would have the business meeting. In our case, we did the business meeting first because, some people always show up late. They're, the people that are traditionally late. So we'd have the people that were really hardcore about making sure the finances and the minutes and stuff are all done correctly. They would be the people that show up smartly on time all the time. So we'd get that part done in the first half an hour. And then by that time, the laggards had showed up, and then we'd start having, he's demonstrating this piece of software you got. This guy built this piece of hardware. This guy wired some industrial printer to his cocoa and, takes over his house or whatever. So,
yeah, I know the group that I used to belong to, not Cocoa, obviously, it was Atari, but the official business end of the meeting started at 7:30, and they would take care of the business aspect of things, and then the actual meeting for everyone started at 8. So therefore it was like the club officers and such would show up at 7:30 and they would get their stuff done and taken care of so that by the time 8 o'clock rolled around, the actual meeting of showing products and stuff would start.
Yeah,
And
and
even
then if you had
better-
anybody in the general populace that wanted to bring up something for the business side of the meeting, like they wanted to do a promo or something
Yeah.
like that, they would attend early too, but not the whole club would
Right.
have to show up because that usually just bores most of the club members.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, if anyone had to do anything, like if they were like needed to redo their membership information or things like that, that they would show up early also, so that it would have both sides and everything would get accomplished, because we were meeting in a room in the local mall, so we only had the room from 7 to 11. Because the mall closed at 11 and we had to go home, and well, we had to leave the building at 11. But
Plus,
yeah,
you had to close the business part at 8 o'clock because that was the schedule, so you couldn't just drag on and on with
Okay.
amendments and.
Yeah.
oh, they did on occasion when there were some problems, but
Yeah, I mean that happens
they were
everywhere.
very few and far between, because usually they had no problems. Because I mean, this club met every month, so.
And from what Bob said, and I'm sure John Mark would agree too, I think you guys did used to do that back in the old days too. You did have a dual purpose meeting. It wasn't just the business side of the club, and that's all you did every meeting, quote unquote, official meeting.
Yeah, Kip Kuhn has done some presentations after the meeting from where he was living in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all about
So it's
finding
all
that
about
balance,
finding
right?
that balance, right?
We're getting the echo
We're
again,
getting the
Sleepy.
echo
That
again,
might be
Sleepy.
you.
That might be you.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to turn off my mute. I'm actually working on something over here.
Yeah, we can bring that up. Maybe have some more of these kind of unofficial, fun, more fun discussions, less businessy.
That's getting back
Yeah.
to the real purpose of the club, isn't it?
Well, yeah, if it's a
Yep.
computer club, it should have a little bit of computer talk in there, right?
And not just a spreadsheet going through the membership list.
Right.
Yeah, I just realized I have a 45-inch TV that's sitting behind me doing absolutely nothing, and I'm cleaning off the bench that it's on so that I can connect my Coco One to it.
And there you go, Coco on the big screen, man. Who'd
And
have
then
thunk
when
it?
you look at me, when you look at me, it will. Let me change the camera. And when you look at me, you'll see this huge
Okay.
screen with my Coco One on it.
Okay, yeah. I have in my living room, I've got my Raspberry Pi running a Coco on like a 60-inch TV, and I'm playing it from my couch. So it's like I'm getting that whole big Xbox experience with Coco games, with sitting on my couch looking on a big TV, which I never would have imagined I'd be able to do back in the day, because I was working on like a 14-inch crappy black and white TV that I had to buy secondhand because it's all I could afford. And now I'm looking at the Coco on a TV bigger than anything I've ever owned in my life. So crazy what we can do nowadays.
My TV in my living room has a computer hooked to it, and I have adapters to use like all the older game systems.
Oh yeah,
yeah, like the Nintendo, the Atari, the Sega, so that you can use actual original controllers with it.
Yeah.
Gotta tell you my epiphany. I figured out my smart TV, you can just stuff a USB keyboard dongle in the back of it and use a regular keyboard to do your on-screen stuff.
So when you
instead
when
of,
you go to so when you have to put in your password, you don't have to use press the left and right arrow
or
keys
search
45
YouTube
times?
or whatever. Yeah,
Okay.
you don't have to go.
The computer actually has a keyboard that goes with it. Here, I'll show it to you. Right back.
I actually had a Vizio TV from years ago where the normal remote actually slid out, and underneath it was an actual QWERTY little mini keyboard on there too that you could type stuff into. That was kind of unique at the time.
Right.
Welcome to TV Talk, everybody. Is that one of the little mini Logitech ones? Or does that come with... Yeah, I've got something like that I usually plug into stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it's a Logitech K400R. This has been dropped so many times I can't count.
Yep.
It's had things spilled on it and everything. As you can see, it's quite dirty. And it still works quite well.
Yeah. I got something similar to that on my Raspberry Pi that I'm running in the living room. Those things are great. They're great little beater keyboards for getting just about anything done off of one USB port. You got your trackpad and your keyboard all in one,
Yeah, although I use Synergy on my computer and my Raspberry Pi 4 that I showed earlier, this is the keyboard that's actually hooked to the Raspberry Pi 4.
Oh, that's nice looking.
And yeah, it's made by Inland, and I actually got it at Micro Center. It was like $18. I've got two of these. One
That's a
that's here.
keyboard and a trackpad, right?
Yep. And I've actually got one of these in the bedroom also because I have a computer hooked up to a TV in there.
Now, is that wireless or is that corded with a USB cord?
It's actually wireless. This is for charging it because
Oh,
the
neat.
battery in it goes dead.
Okay.
Because the battery goes in dead and it's
Yeah.
because I never use it. I constantly keep it connected, but it uses a standard small little dongle. It's
Yeah. Those are neat.
yeah, I can't reach it. Yeah, I can't reach it on the Raspberry Pi. But there's a Raspberry Pi 4 that's sitting there, and this is the keyboard that's actually connected to it. Which all I do is use it to connect Synergy, and then my main keyboard for my computer here just goes over to that.
Yeah,
use it.
and that's one of the things that I think would hold me back from getting that Raspberry Pi 400 is because your keyboard is the computer and you're now tethered to the screen. I'm actually kind of spoiled that I can use my Raspberry Pi with one of these little handheld wireless keyboard mouse doohickeys, and I've got that freedom of not being tethered now with my computer that has to be within a foot and a half from the screen. These are definitely first world problems that we're dealing with now. So that's pretty.
Oh
cool.
yeah, I like the new Raspberry Pi 400, but I mean, me personally, I just would not. I don't see me ever buying one.
Yeah.
I mean, the Pi, even though the 400 is faster than the 4,
yeah,
I would still just go with the 4 and then overclock it to the Pi to the 400 speed.
And speaking of those kind of remote control things, I've got one somewhere. It's collecting dust, but years ago I bought it from Logitech. It had like a kind of a clear clamshell lid, but it was a little tiny one. It was like probably not, it was smaller than the modern cell phone now, but it was a flip top wireless keyboard where the keys were backlit and it had a little tiny mouse thing on it and everything. And it was designed for like home theater PCs. But when I bought that thing, it was probably $200 for this little tiny frickin' rechargeable backlit Logitech fancy schmancy keyboard with the smoked clamshell lid that would close down on it. That thing's sitting there somewhere doing God knows what now. Probably, bleeding acid all over itself from whatever battery's in it. But that thing was the bee's knees when I had first got it. I'm like, man, this is so cool, and it's so small, and I got a keyboard, and I can do all kinds of crap. But, there's so many ways to interface with our tech nowadays. It's like, it's insane.
Yeah, I do believe the batteries in this are dead.
Yeah, but that style Logitech, I've got a few of those in my house that I've had for years, and they do last forever. It's a good workbench thing to have,
But all my batteries are rechargeable.
Ah, there you go. Cool.
Let's see.
I don't know that we need to continue to stream this anymore, so I think I will go ahead and stop streaming. We've been streaming for the benefit of the other folks out there in other parts of the country who did that. So for those of you, if you're still out there watching, I'm going to stop the stream. So goodbye out there in internet land. So let me do that. Say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody, including myself.
All right, so we're no longer live and on the air. And I know Jim's still recording, so nobody's required to stay or go. You guys all stay as long as you want. I didn't want to stream forever.
I'll be leaving pretty quick because I'm having a meeting to try to solve this one driver problem we're having in Nitrous.
I think Jim's still recording the meeting, so hopefully something good will come out of this.
Yeah, Curtis, I think maybe someone didn't drop their socks. It's the real-time clock issue.
Yeah, on the emulators, and it seems to be different depending on who's running it. That's the hard part to figure out.
Beauty.
I hate those types of bugs.
I hate this thing. This is the earbuds I got from my son so that I could.
They work well though, because when you add those in, the echo was completely gone. So.
Well, yeah, that's because it's not. I have a Harman Kardon Audio, which, if you can see it, that's the subwoofer. And then I have a speaker. It's over there, and then a speaker over there. You can see the light.
Yeah, when you're on the open air mic, it just picks all that back up and just does a feedback loop.
And this camera, because the camera that I'm using right here, that's the camera that's the microphone that I use, and it's right here, right in the center of all three of those. And I mean, even this, it's like turned up as loud as it can go, and it's really strange because it's like almost at the point of distortion for me to be able to hear it.
I had to laugh at your subwoofer. I've never seen one that small.
The subwoofer, yeah, the subwoofer's quite big actually.
Well,
Here, I'll show you.
Mine is 15 inches, and we don't
Yeah.
call it a sub.
Yeah,
I've got a pair of Mach 1s from Radio Shack that have the 16-inch horns and the 40 KC tweeters.
Yeah, this is a foot tall, and because it's actually supposed to be vertical, but when it's at full bark, the air that comes out of this hole is enough to that you can feel it like a fan, and this stuff on top will start falling off from the vibration.
Okay.
I've got some studio monitors. The base port is actually the cooling system for the integral amp. There are fins in the base port, so the air blowing out cools the amplifier off. I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah, because like this paperwork that's up on top of it, the reason why it's over and hanging over is because it's moved forward from the vibrations.
Okay, looks like our other little meeting's about to start here on Discord, so
All right, guys.
and
I'm going to drop off too. It was good hanging out with you all. I think the call will still be recording until Jim stops it from recording. So,
John Mark.
I wonder if he forgot about it and he's just going to let it run all night.
John Mark, I wanted to turn on my share screen here and have you report on the video that you see. This would be coming from VCC. Are you hearing me, John Mark?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Okay. I'm going to push the button and let's see what happens. This is all new to me. Well, I don't see anything working.
no, it doesn't look like you're sharing now.
What a turkey. How do I enable share screen? First, click something about a lock. My God.
It's up on the top. The right to the left of the red hang up button is the share screen button.
Okay, we hit that. And then I got some stupid what's this say? Oh, this might be what I'm looking for. Let's try it. Well, I don't see that did anything.
Yeah, I'm going to drop off. Good night, guys.
Okay, good night.
I'm afraid I'm right after him. It's probably time for dinner. Y'all have a good one. I hope to see you soon.
John Mark, I couldn't get it to go. Why?
So are still things going on, or?
This is Bob Swoger. I was trying to share a screen with John Mark, and I can't figure out how to.
Oh, got it. Okay. Well, I'll leave you to it.
Who's that asking?
That was Jim.
Oh, okay. So, John Mark, you're not seeing anything here, huh?
No.
I'm gone.
I guess you still got